Okay, so I think we are all here. Let me count. One, two, three, four, five, six. Yay. Okay. Okay, we have everybody here. So really super excited that you all are here bright and early. Hopefully you have your morning beverage of choice. I have my cat mug here and have your crystal water brewing because before we break, no matter where we are, in the agenda today, we will end by doing the crystal water taste testing, which is super fun. So you don't necessarily need to have it next to you right now. We'll do that at the very end of today. So, but primarily for today, you just need your workbook. I don't even know if you're going to need a pendulum today now that I'm thinking about it, because I don't think we're going to get to the chakras today. We'll do that tomorrow. So, I would like you all to take 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds, not like 10 minutes, 30 seconds. Just tell us who you are, why are you taking this class, and do you have a big question that you hope gets answered? So, Rachel, let's start with you.
My name is Rachel Loffer. I live in California, and my interest in crystals goes back quite a ways because I keep collecting them, and I'm not quite sure why I do that, but I do. And so I've got, you can see it behind me, a jewelry bag full of crystals in compartments, and I go, okay, what are these for? How can I use these? Because also the other thing is that I want to become more sensitive to the vibrations of the individual crystals, and I haven't quite gotten there yet. I do use them, but I'm not quite to that sensitivity yet. So I'm hoping to learn more today.
Okay, you will get that answered for you. Okay, Dee, let's go to you.
Well, I'm Dee Mattel. Massage therapist, have done classes with Allie, get certified in my animal healing, uh, as well as, doing the advanced. Uh, love the energies, and I'm looking for just a little more of how to use this, uh, use the crystals in the human healing setting.
All right, fantastic. Glad you're here. I need to get you a frequent flyer punch card. So, all right, Linda, let's go to you. Oh, you're on mute.
I have lots of pets. So I'm Linda Brower. I'm in Plainfield, Illinois. I'm an accountant and a business owner. I'm a big believer in essential oils, been using them for years. Dee actually introduced me to that. And I want to learn about crystals. Dee's been so excited about it. I know nothing about crystals. So that's why I'm here.
Well, awesome. Awesome. Glad you're here. Okay, Melanie.
Hello, I'm Melanie Jacobson. I'm in a small town in Wisconsin. Um, uh, I just want to add another, I guess, like tool to the toolbox kind of deal. I've always been really interested in more of like the holistic way of doing things, but like the science part of me is always like, this is like woo woo, it doesn't work, but it's like, I know it does, but it's always that kind of having to almost like convince yourself. So I just want to learn.
Fantastic. And tell everybody about your work that you do.
I'm a veterinarian.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here. All right, Frida.
Hi, I am Frida Abbott. I'm actually a very good friend of Dee's. I'm a neighbor. So I just want to learn more about crystals. And she kind of introduced me and she's so excited about it. And so the healing part of it, I want to learn more about that. And I am a secretary for a construction company.
All right. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Miss Sherry LaMarche.
Good morning, Allie and everyone else. Sorry if I'm a little red cheeked. I've just been outside taking care of some horses and birds. So, um, I do Young Living. That's my thing. Rehab animals, horses. Now I've had a feral colony of cats decide to move in the middle of winter. So I'm like, okay, more. I've had rocks all around my house for years. Whenever I travel, they come home with me. So I'm like, it would be kind of good to know just a little bit more about them. And Allie intrigued me with her EMF little video. So I was like, okay, I'm diving in. So I'm here.
Nice. Good to have you here. And how long have you been in Young Living?
25 years.
There you go. You are Young Living. You are. All right. Okay, so okay, hopefully you all were able to download your workbook and you have that. You're going to get all the recordings to this class, which is something that I only started doing about 18 months ago. I never even thought I would take these classes online, but that was a benefit of COVID, taking them online. And now the online version is super popular. So I'm glad that I can reach a lot of different people. Although I've been to Sheridan to teach crystal classes. Kate Brown has brought me in several times to the yoga place. What is it called? Salt Yoga?
Salt Tree.
Salt Tree, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've come in
Salt
twice
Yoga in Utica and
and
Ottawa.
taught classes there. So some of you know me well, and some of you I am new. I'm kind of a new person in your life. So glad to be in your life. So, just a little bit about me. And I had a major epiphany on my classes yesterday. Um, what is unique about me? I've been an attorney for 31 years in the field of criminal prosecution. I'm not in the courtroom anymore. I was in the courtroom for far too long. And then taught prosecutors at prosecution conferences. And I still teach criminal justice professionals, but it just continues to morph in what I do. But I am still a licensed attorney here, and I'm in Lansing, Michigan, so I'm right here in the center. And when I started gathering certifications in healing and wellness, that really shifted not only my health, the health of my cats, the health of I've always done a lot of animal shelter work, really help those animals. And my legal specialty is animal abuse. And so I've utilized a lot of modalities. I think I have 10 energy certifications at this point. And I've always been interested in crystals, always. Since I could walk, I was always looking for the prettiest rock and, you know, collecting crystals out of all the little tourist stores that you can go to, and they always have crystals there. And so, so I've always been very drawn to crystals. And when I started taking crystal classes, I was just outrageously unsatisfied with them. They were too vague. The teachers couldn't answer any questions. They were regurgitating what's in the books, and all the books regurgitate pretty much the same thing. And I had a lot of questions. I was that toddler in class, always raising my hand and asking why. Who said rose quartz is a heart healer? Like, who came up with that? And no one was really able to answer my questions. And then I found my way to a science teacher in Florida. And she was running a science department at a school. And she started teaching crystal classes. So I mentored with her for 18 months. And I got my first certification. And then I was in the launch of her advanced certification program and became her first student that was certified as an advanced crystal master teacher. And this really intrigued me about the science of crystals because even though I have a very logical left brain as an attorney, at the end of the day, I crave evidence. I mean, that's just what attorneys do. We work with evidence all day long. And so I really needed the evidence that these work because I was kind of like Rachel. I was collecting a lot of crystals and it's like, what the heck am I doing? Like, why am I buying these? I don't even know how to use them. I don't understand them at all. I just was very drawn to collect them. So once I got certified by her, then I just took off on my own and really dove in to the science, to the physics, to the quantum physics, the geology. And one thing that I love to do is talk with the miners of the crystals, the ones who are in there, in the earth, digging them up and getting the backstories, getting the information that is really interesting. Like I just came back from the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, which is the largest gem and mineral show in the world. And it's for 2 to 3 weeks every winter. And I mean, tens of thousands of vendors. And so I love talking to them about what is your new discovery? What did you find this year when you were, 3.5 miles up in the Himalayan mountains? What was new? What minerals did you discover? Because it's just fascinating how the earth is continually pushing up crystals. She's birthing them to us. And then she's creating new ones underneath and birthing them up. So it's just all super fascinating to me, and I continue to learn. I'm endlessly learning. And so I've been teaching these classes for 12 years, and I started my business Manifested Harmony in a couple months. It'll be the 14th anniversary. And I started that business when I was a full-time attorney in Washington, D.C., teaching prosecutors. And it was crazy at the time. Why am I doing this? Like, I'm working 80-hour weeks. I'm traveling all over the country. I'm exhausted. Like, I'm sick and I'm exhausted. Why am I getting all these certifications? Why am I opening up a business? And it's because I knew what the next wave of health and wellness was going to be, and it's frequency wellness. That's what's happening. That's what our essential oils are. That's what energy healing is. That's what sound frequency is. That's what crystals are. And I dive deeper into all of that in the advanced class. But for this class, I want to give you a really good foundation to understand crystals, to appreciate them, and to appreciate the ones that you have, and to understand why you're drawn to them. So with that, I am going to move on. All right. So in your workbook, we are on page 6, and I want to go through the science of crystals. And first, I want to talk about there is a difference between stones, rocks, crystals, and gems. And I'll tell you, like, I die a little inside when I hear crystal sellers, crystal stores, crystal teachers call crystals stones and rocks, because they're not. Stones and rocks are what you find out in your driveway. That's what's in your yard. That's what, you find out in the dirt, walking along a trail, walking along a river. And it's a mishmash of minerals that just hardened and came together. And there's no crystalline structure to them. So like the picture on the top of your screen, it's just rocks and stones. They're beautiful. I still collect them, but they don't have any crystalline energy to them. Now, when we're looking at crystals and stones, basically minerals that have been identified in the world of geology, there's over 4,500 that have been uniquely identified, like clear quartz, rose quartz, citrine, amethyst, like 4,500. There's that many. And so when we're looking at all of these stones, rocks, crystals, gems, they are 100% minerals, 100%. Okay. But yet not all minerals will become crystals. Stones and rocks made of minerals, but they're not crystallized. They don't have what's called a crystalline lattice, which I'll talk about in a minute. So when we look at minerals, minerals are solid. Okay, they're not liquid. Water is made up of minerals, but also a lot of other things. But minerals are solid. They naturally occur in the earth, and they are inorganic, which means they don't come from a living thing. Now, I believe that the earth is a living entity, but what they mean in geology is that it doesn't come like from a tree or a decaying animal. Okay, it comes from the earth, it's inorganic. And minerals have a fixed composition, which means the chemical formula never changes. Calcium is always calcium. Iron is always iron. You can take iron and you can dig it up, you can melt it down, you can build a structure of a cat, and then you can take that cat structure and melt it down and build a structure of a tower, and then melt it down and build a house. Chemical formula never changes. Okay? And then there are repeating atoms, a crystal atomic formation. It doesn't mean crystalline structure. It's just the atoms are repeating within the mineral over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. Now, crystals, what differentiates them from rocks and stones is that crystals have what's called a fixed repeating crystalline lattice. And what this is, it's a third dimensional pattern within the crystal where at a molecular level, it's forming from the inside out in a third dimensional pattern. So in your workbook, you'll see an image of a crystal, and you see that C-axis going up and down. The crystals form around that C-axis like a spiral, like a tornado, like a hurricane. And this crystalline lattice is what differentiates crystals from stones and rocks. And, a crystal structure is composed of a set of atoms that are arranged in a very particular, precise way around the C-axis, and it grows third dimensionally, and that is a crystalline lattice. Okay, it's the precision of how it grows along the C-axis in 3 dimensions. Okay, so on the screen here, at the top, we have rocks and stones. No crystalline lattice at all, but 100% minerals. On the left here, you see these 2 red crystals? They're the same. It's ruby. The one on the left is crystalline ruby, whereas the one on the right is gem ruby. And so that's the difference between a crystal and a gem or a semi-precious gem. It's the clarity that makes the difference. So you can buy ruby in crystal form. There's no clarity. You can't see through it, but it is absolutely a crystal. But when you start getting to the clarity, that's when it becomes a gem or a semi-precious gem. Now on the right, you see the green crystal? That's emerald. So the one on the far right is the gem, emerald. But the one to the left of that's crystal emerald. Again, no clarity. So you see a difference. There's a difference between gems, crystals, stones, and rocks. So I like to start the class with that. Okay. All right. So crystals were formed billions of years ago. So our Earth is 4.6 billion years old. 4.6 billion. And actually, before I get to that, I want to show you this. I'm sorry, I totally skipped over this. When I was talking about the C-axis and how the crystalline lattice forms in a spiral around the C-axis, this is one of my crystals. It's a fluorite tower, and it perfectly depicts what I mean by that. So you can see here, the photo on the left, you can see the point at the top. And then do you see where the pink arrows are? Do you see where it's pointing to these bands that go around the point? That's the crystalline lattice, literally growing from the inside out all of these bands that you see going down the side, and in the photo on the right, you see the bands. That's the crystalline lattice. Starting on the inside, think of it like a thread, and then it just starts growing around the thread, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the longer a crystal is in the earth, the bigger it can get if it has the right space to grow. But that's what I mean by the crystalline lattice. Some crystals you can see it, in fluorite. Sometimes you can see it in clear quartz. A lot of times you can see it. But in the crystals that are cloudier, you don't necessarily see it, but it's there. It's there at a microscopic level. So with the Earth being 4.6 billion years old, the oldest crystal that has been found is the zircon, and it's 4.4 billion years old. So when the Earth was forming, I go deeper into this in the advanced class, but here's the short story. When the Earth was forming, it was minerals and water. And the heavy metals, the iron, the cobalt, the nickel, all sank to the core of the Earth. And that's literally the core of our Earth that gives us gravity, keeps us in orbit. And so the minerals sank, then there was water, and then at some point, land starts forming from the minerals. But minerals were here first. Then came the crystals. And then fast forward like 3.5 billion years, and you start having living organisms, and then blah, blah, blah. We go on and start having wonderful humans and animals. Crystals were here first. They are millions and billions of years old. And crystals are formed in the earth as a result of a lot of different mechanisms that are happening. They form because of pressure. I don't know if you've ever heard that diamonds, the clarity is formed under high pressure, like underground. The plates are literally pressing up against these minerals. And the more you press, the clearer they get. Crystals are also formed with heat, with gases, with water. The location of where a crystal grows is going to determine what it looks like. I like collecting different forms of quartz, and there is a very big difference between quartz coming out of Arkansas and quartz coming out of the Himalayan mountains. The growth structure is different. They look different. Amethyst grows in various locations around the world. Some amethyst is really light in color. I mean, it almost looks pale white, but you can see a little bit of purple. That comes out of Bulgaria. It's called Bulgarian amethyst. And then really, really, really deep colored amethyst comes out of Brazil, comes out of the Himalayan mountains. So it just depends on the location where you're getting different minerals coming together, because certain areas on the planet have heavier deposits of certain minerals. So other things that come into play are the amount of time in the earth and the depth of the crystals. If a crystal has enough space to grow, if it's left alone, it'll grow huge. And one thing that I love about Tucson is they bring these huge crystals. I mean, they are one piece and they are thousands of pounds, and they pull them out of the ground in one intact piece, because those crystals were literally given billions of years and had the space underground to grow. So there's a lot of different things that come into play. But one thing that I will talk about a couple times in this class is the core of the earth is made of iron. And scientists using refraction technology, like they've been shooting lasers into the earth to figure out, how big is the core, like how deep does the mantle, that we walk on, how deep does that go? They figured all that out. And they have figured out that the core of the earth is a hexagon, which is a six-sided shape. And you're going to learn tomorrow when we talk about quartz, quartz grows in a six-sided shape. And I go deeper into all of that, the shapes and the sacred geometry and the advanced class, and it'll just blow your mind, the connections between us and the earth and crystals and how it all links together. But crystals literally contain the DNA of the earth, literally contain her minerals, because that's what the earth is, just straight up minerals. And I think we all know that the earth has healing power to her. You know, we all have nature elements that we are drawn to. You may be drawn to the mountains, you may be drawn to a forest or, a field of, flowers or plant life. I'm drawn to water. I go to Lake Michigan all the time. That's my happy place. And when we are in nature, it's very healing. It's very calming. We are not stressed when we are in nature. There's a whole field of study called earthing, where when you put your bare feet on the ground, you have an ion exchange. You expel inflammation, you absorb anti-inflammatory energies. And like the healing that comes from the earth, crystals have that healing power. Like you can't have an earth that is full of all this healing frequency and pull something out of the earth and not have it have a healing frequency. Okay. So this is why crystals are so popular. I mean, they've been popular for a long, long, long time, decades and decades and decades, but really becoming popular now. And were very popular thousands and thousands of years ago. A lot of ancient civilizations worked with crystals. So ancient are not new age. I go a little bananas when I hear people talking about crystals as new age woo-woo. And it's like, no, your doctor's medical degree is new age. That's new age. Crystals, like essential oils, like nature, that's ancient healing. These are ancient modalities that trace back to every ancient civilization, every single ancient civilization. And crystals contain electromagnetic energies, and what they do is they work through our biomagnetic field. We are not just, meat and potatoes of this physical body. We have an energy field, and I'm going to go deeper into all these concepts. But that's what crystals do. They literally realign this energy field around us because this energy field governs the body. It governs our emotions. It governs our mental state, our spiritual state. And so crystals start working to really realign our biomagnetic field because they are pure energy that are compressed into matter. Okay, that's something that Einstein taught us, is that energy compressed becomes matter. So one thing that is interesting before I start diving deeper into the science is, and my gosh, I have experienced this over and over again, as have a lot of my students. When you get a crystal and the more you work with it, especially if it's a crystal like that you can see through, you may start to discover that internally it changes. You may start to see things that were there, like that weren't there, but now they're there. You're noticing things. Here's the thing, you are not changing the atomic structure of a crystal. What you're doing is you're combining your energy with the crystal. The crystal is working on your frequency, and then you see it. Then you see it, okay? So it was always there, you just couldn't see it. But crystals will actually start showing themselves to you. And I've had this happen a lot. I have a private crystal store for my students, for my crystal cluster. student community. Once a month, I take it online in a public sale on Facebook. But I've had so many people come back to me because I do all the identification on the crystals. And they'll come back to me and say, Allie, you missed a trait on the crystal. No, I didn't. It just didn't show itself to me. It showed itself to the person who bought the crystal. So that is something that is really fascinating of how energy works and how I didn't see it, but you will see it. Okay? That's not woo-woo. That's just how energy works. And it's how you end up transcending matter and are just in a pure energy exchange with a crystal. So I want to talk about some physics principle, and I'm going to show you this video in a little bit. I want to talk about 3 physics principles, and these are kind of the core of what I work off of to really understand how crystals are working with us. Why are you drawn to certain crystals? Why are you drawn to certain shapes, certain colors, certain formations? I'm going to talk about these 3 principles, and then I'm going to show you a video that really solidifies it. The first physics principle is called the principle of entrainment. And what this is, in these physics principles, you have 2 energy frequencies, okay? And one in the principle of entrainment is a high amplitude, a high energy. It's a high frequency. High does not mean better. Low does not mean bad. High just means strong. Low means weak, okay? That's what that means. There's no good or bad when it comes to energy. So you have a high amplitude energy, a strong frequency, and then you have a low frequency. In the principle of entrainment, the low frequency starts to raise up, but then the high frequency starts to come down, and they literally meet on common ground. Okay, that's what they do. And this is called a harmony. Entrainment means harmony. And so, for example, and I'm going to show you a tuning fork video. When you take 2 tuning forks, let's say they're tuned to note C. You take one and you smack it really hard, like it is, whoa, like it is singing super loud. You take the second one, you smack it really quietly. When you hold them, the quiet one will get louder and the louder one will get quieter to where they're exactly the same sound, the same tone. That's principle of entrainment, where 2 energies come together on a common ground. And, we experience this with people. You can have 2 people of 2 different opinions, and one person is like, you know what? I'm going to be open-minded and I'm going to listen to you, so they elevate, and the other person says, I'm going to listen to you, and you come together on common ground. And we experience this all the time with people that we meet. We're coming together on common ground. Sometimes we're butting heads, but in the principle of entrainment, it's mutual energy that works off of each other. Okay? The second principle is called the principle of resonance. And again, you have a high, strong amplitude energy. You have a weaker, lower amplitude, but in the principle of resonance, that strong energy fully raises up the lower. That strong energy doesn't budge. Okay, that strong energy says, you come up to me. Okay, that is the principle of resonance. So, for example, tuning forks. Both of them are note C, so they're of the same frequency. You take one, you smack it. You don't do anything to the second one, and all of a sudden the second one starts to vibrate and make sound. That's principle of resonance. A good like example of how this works with people. You all may have heard of Tony Robbins. He's a motivational speaker. He is a very tall human being. He is a big guy. And when he's on stage, he captures everyone in the audience through principle of resonance. He literally uses his height, his ominence, his personality, and his voice. He is a dominant, high vibration energy, and he takes everybody in that audience. He's not lowering himself. He's not engaging in principle of entrainment. He's taking everybody, tens of thousands of people, and he is pulling them up. And next thing they know, they're walking across fire. Okay. So he literally uses the sheer force of his personality and his voice, which is frequency, to pull people up. Okay. And, we feel this when we interact with people, and we even say, oh, I didn't resonate with her, or like I was totally vibing with that person. It's physics. It's physics. You can meet somebody, you never met him before, and like instantly you're like, blah, 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 blah. Like you totally get along. You have so much in common. Maybe you meet somebody and they are of like a super high, happy energy, and you come in and you're just kind of neutral, and they just pull you up and you feel really joyful after talking with them. Or remember how I said energy is neither good nor bad? You can have a high energy that is super negative. So when I worked in DC, I had a guy in my department that I supervised, and I mean, he was Eeyore. I mean, that was my nickname for him. Every morning he would come and stand in my doorway, and just his entire physical body and voice and energy, he would just collapse on himself like a dying star. And he would stand in my doorway and do this. Good morning. And he would just slump, but he was such a strong negative energy. And he would tell me about all of his physical ailments and all of his problems and his problem with his landlord and his roommate and da da da. And by the time his strong energy was done, and I'm just like doo 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 tooling along, he sucked me into his energy and I was feeling negative. Okay, that's principle of resonance. That's where strong energy literally takes over a lower neutral energy. Okay. And then the last one is the principle of interference. And this is where two frequencies come together and they add. Okay, so you've got one person here and one person here, and they come together and they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to engage in coherence, where they add together and create a higher frequency, or they interfere and they clash because they are different frequencies. And they're like, I don't know why I don't like this person. I don't know why I don't get along with this person. This person is perfectly lovely, but man, do they rub me the wrong way. Rub me the wrong way. That's principle of interference. It's physics. Whereas two friends who come together, blah, 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 next thing you know, they're raising themselves up. And they created a whole different frequency. And that's the principle that I like to talk about with essential oils, because there are some essential oils that, 26 years ago when they were tested, the frequency is actually lower than a healthy human body. The Valor oil tested lower than a healthy human body. And it doesn't mean that Valor lowers your frequency. There's you, there's Valor, you add together and you create a whole third energy wave. Okay. So that's how principle of interference works. You either come together and raise yourself up, or you clash. Okay. So let me show you a video that explains this. It doesn't do, well, actually, I think it does all of these. So hold on. Let's play this video. And this was done by MIT's physics department. So not woo-woo. now he's altering the frequency. And no principle of resonance. They can't communicate with each other. They're different frequency. That is principle of resonance or principle of interference. They interfered with each other. They were clashing because they were different frequencies. Okay, so how does that relate to crystals? When it comes to humans and crystals, who do you think is the higher amplitude that I've been talking about? Who do you think the higher amplitude is?
Crystal.
Crystal. Because humans, we fluctuate all day long. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. We fluctuate because we are primarily water. We are water, minerals, and energy. We are up and down all day long. We suffer from entropy. Our cells are constantly turning over and dying and recreating to the point where at some point it won't. Our cells will not turn over and replicate in a healthy way. So we suffer from high rates of entropy, destruction. Crystals are millions and billions of years old. They were here first. They will be here last. I don't know who's going to take care of all of our crystal collections when we're gone, but these don't die. I could take this, I could smash it on the floor, I could chop it up into little bits and pieces, and under a microscope, there is still the crystalline lattice. This is the higher amplitude. Here's us. So crystals, when you just look at it from a pure physics perspective, it will either meet us on common ground, it will totally pull us into its frequency, and that's where I really see it happening. Or we come together and create a whole new frequency. Now, there are times that you will see a crystal and it bubbles up a negative feeling, and you touch it and say, "Ooh, that crystal has a negative energy to it." So throughout this class, I will talk about the scientific perspective and the purist perspective. Scientifically speaking, crystals cannot take on negative energy. They can't. And they certainly cannot take on the negative energy of a human being. Because otherwise, we would have long since destroyed every crystal and would have just blown up the planet, with human negative emotion. That's what would happen. These do not take on human negative energy. But yet I see this all the time. When I saw it a couple weeks ago in Tucson, somebody touched a crystal and said, "Oh my gosh, that crystal has so much negative energy." And it just took all of my strength to not go up to her and say, "Sweetie, it's bubbling up something in you that is ready to heal, and that crystal wants to work with you. That crystal bubbled it up so that you can release it." So the crystal itself isn't negative. The crystal, in these physics principles, met you on a common ground and is like, we got to work on this. But instead, people walk away from those crystals. And the crystal's like, hello, you forgot me. I bubbled up something, like I'm here to work on you. I'm basically the Tylenol to your headache. Like, I'm here to work with you. So this is how crystals work with us. This is why we're drawn to them. This is pure frequency, pure physics principles of why we are drawn to them and why we feel good around them. That's the one thing that people ask me about all the time is, Allie, I buy all these crystals. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't even remember what crystals they are. But gosh, I just love them. They make my house feel good. They make me feel good. Am I crazy? No, you're in a physics principle exchange. That's what you're doing. You're in a frequency exchange. That's exactly what is going on. And that's why crystals are so popular now, because people are getting the information that, I could change the energy in my house and maybe my spouse or my kids or my dog and cat wouldn't be so grumpy and at each other's throats all the time. Maybe there's something to this and it's not so woo-woo. So, yeah, so that's the physics principles of what we're dealing with. Now, here, hold on. I got to pull the PowerPoint back up. I want to talk about the quantum field. I just read this fascinating book. I'm actually going to compile it all into a class, and if you like quantum physics and understanding the quantum field, I highly recommend a book. It's called The Physics of Consciousness. Holy crap. It took me 9 months to finish this book. It's not a big book, but it is like quadruple level PhD level. And I felt like I was a kindergartner reading it. It was intense, but so many aha moments. But it really gave me even a deeper appreciation for crystals as well as essential oils and the plant kingdom and everything because of the quantum field that we live in. I'm going to keep this like a very, very, very basic explanation, but it'll give you a deeper understanding of how fluid energy is, because that's what crystals are. They are just pure energy that are compressed into physical matter. And it'll help you understand how fluid we are and how working with crystals can move us into a different level of consciousness, of thought patterns, of mindset and awareness. So we are surrounded by a quantum field that manifests as energy, which we can't see. Okay. And it manifests as physical matter, like the chair that you are sitting in, the desk that you are sitting at, the computers that we are on. And this quantum field, I mean, there's a depiction of it on the screen. Humans we have consciousness, awareness. That's what consciousness means, awareness. We have awareness. But this field also has consciousness or awareness. So conscious intention and interpretation by us, the observer, as humans, determines how we experience this quantum field. I have literally been talking about this for years in one of my communities called the Sacred Shift, about we all can look at the same thing and have totally different interpretations. And that's what's happening in our world right now. Two people can literally witness the same event, two polar opposite opinions about what is fact. Okay. And it is because of how we come into this and work within this quantum field. So everything exists in this quantum field, and this quantum field is way outside of this planet. It is everything. All the planets, all the universes. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of universes. Okay, we are just literally a blip in this world. So everything exists in the quantum field and simply changes as energy changes. You may have heard before that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. Like the sun hits a solar panel and creates electricity. Okay, energy wasn't created. And once you use the electricity, it wasn't destroyed. It just changes form. So the sun hit the solar panel and it's just a transformation of energy. So scientists have discovered that behind the electromagnetic forces in this quantum field is a consciousness that governs everything. Now, this has zero to do with religious beliefs. There is nothing religious about this. This is just pure science that I'm talking about that has been validated and researched by scientists. It's super fascinating. So the consciousness of our human mind is really a fraction of the overall consciousness of the quantum field. And our consciousness here in our brain right now is just a part of our consciousness of our overall soul. Okay. So in the crystal world, you'll often hear people talk about connecting with your higher self. And that is simply the consciousness of your soul that is still in the quantum field. You're literally connecting and just getting absolute pure information, and crystals can help you do that. But consciousness attracts vibration in the quantum field. Consciousness, awareness attracts vibrations in the quantum field. This is how manifestation works. And crystals affect human consciousness. Crystals affect human awareness to shift us into different frequencies where we observe things differently. We are of a different frequency. And that's how we interact with the quantum field. Because if you've ever wondered, why does this person manifest everything that they want? Like, my gosh, look at this is amazing. They just say, I want to create this, and boom, they do. And then other people just cannot seem to stand up on their own 2 feet. They just can't seem to get it together. The first person knows how to work the quantum field. And crystals get you into that energy. And, because humans are just starting to explore quantum physics in the quantum field, this is one reason why frequency of the planet is changing and the frequency of humans is changing. And crystals help us with our frequency to feel better. I track the frequency of the planet. It's raising. It's raising all the time. Humans don't feel really good. Animals don't feel really good with the shifting frequency. Crystals help us in our frequency to shift with everything that is happening. So in addition to this quantum field, we also have what's called a morphogenic field. And it's an energy field in the body and outside of our body that forms everything in nature. Well, what's nature? We are nature. So all the atoms and the molecules and the DNA and our cells and our veins and our blood vessels and our organs and everything. And elements, minerals, water, air, fire, think of all the elements in our world. They communicate in this morphogenic field, and the morphogenic field communicates in the quantum field. And it's all vibration. And vibrational forms either renew or transform. They're neither created nor destroyed. They just renew, transform, they're altered, they shift, and can create even more complex forms. And there was one sentence, there was actually a chapter in this book on the physics of consciousness on minerals and plants. So minerals are crystals, plants can become essential oils. And in that book, it said the world of minerals is an expression of the intelligent design of consciousness or souls. Because we're made of minerals. Crystals are made of minerals. So that's why we have this like attracts like with crystals. Okay. I know that's really deep, but I want to get us really deep into frequency and energy, and because it's very hard for our brain to comprehend unseen energies. We were all raised that if I don't see it, I don't believe it. You have to flip it. Once you believe it, then you will see it. We have to flip it. We were programmed the wrong way, okay? We have to switch that. And once you really start looking at everything as pure energy, as vibrating energy that's either out here in the air that you can't see, or it's solidified into your, your morning coffee or tea cup. It's all energy. We're energy. Crystals are energy. Your pets are energy. Your house is energy. The earth is energy. Everything is energy. And some of it is compressed into physical matter. When you start thinking of crystals this way, it completely alters how you think about crystals. So we live in a quantum field. We live on a planet. We live in a world where the animal kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the plant kingdom communicate in frequency. The animal kingdom is us and animals, okay? It's humans and animals. How do we know that animals communicate in frequency? Let me give you two examples. Do you have two pets where one looks at the other one and then that other one runs away like, uh-oh, ooh, I just got the look? So my cat Stella will look at her brothers and they're like, we totally bow down to you, oh goddess of the feline cats. She just gives them a look. It's frequency. Same thing happens with mothers. If you have children, have you ever given your child a look and that child is like, whoa, I totally stand down? It's frequency. In the mineral kingdom, crystals communicate in frequency and they communicate with us in frequency because we are made up of minerals. And so the minerals in our body are communicating with the minerals in the crystal, and that's why you are drawn to certain crystals. Because the minerals in your body are saying, you need more of that. You are so anxious and hyped up and angry and agitated. You need some grounding minerals. You need some crystals made of iron or aluminum to ground that energy because you are freaking out. Or you're depressed, you're lethargic, you're stuck, you have apathy. Silica, which is quartz, raises your vibration. And so you may find yourself all of a sudden drawn to quartz crystals because the minerals are saying you need to pull yourself out of the tar pit that you've put yourself in. The mineral communication. The plant kingdom. Plants communicate with each other to protect each other from things that are going to kill the trees and the plants from invaders. They put up protective mechanisms. They communicate. That's how essential oils communicate with us. So animals, minerals, and plants, they all communicate with each other through frequency. We are the only ones that communicate through words. Okay? So everything, do I have another screen? Yeah, this is our quantum field that we all have around us. Everything has what's called a dominant oscillatory rate or a base resonant frequency for things that are solid. And it is a frequency of what makes it what it is. Okay, so I'm a frequency that makes me me. My cat Stella is a frequency that makes her a cat. This Auralite 23 crystal that I've been holding up is of a frequency that makes it and identified as Auralite 23. For living things, this gets back to what I was saying in the physics principles. For living things, animals and humans, our base resonant frequency changes all the time. Okay, we go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. For those of you in the essential oil world, you have probably seen all the old studies that Gary Young did and others did about, the base frequency of a healthy human body is 78 megahertz. And if you go below that, you get a cold. If you go below that, you get the flu. If you go below that, you get cancer. And then you get low enough to something like 25 megahertz, the body dies. But if you stay above that, if you stay above that frequency, you feel great. Well, that's the thing. We fluctuate all day long. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down, we oscillate. But for crystals, the dominant oscillatory rate doesn't change. It's why they're millions and billions of years old. It's why we only have a certain life expectancy, because we suffer from entropy, which is destruction, but the crystals don't. And the crystals don't because of their crystalline lattice, that C axis where the minerals are forming in a third dimensional atomic structure. These are strength. Humans are not strength. We fluctuate too much. We're 70% water. Okay? So because crystals are compressed minerals with a crystalline lattice, they have a frequency that transmits out. And the more you work with crystals, you will be able to pick up a crystal, your entire body, you will feel it. It could be buzzing, it could be tingling, you could feel like your energy just settle, or you could feel yourself raising up. You will get to that point. The more you work with crystals, you will feel what they do. You will feel the frequency changes. By having crystals in your environment, it's literally changing the air, because air is just energy. Okay? I'm not exaggerating when I say I have about 500 pounds of crystals in my house. I am not recommending that. I think I have a problem. I think I need to go to Crystals Anonymous. But I literally have about 500 pounds of crystals in my house. And when people come to my house for classes, they don't want to leave. I literally have to kick them out. I feel rude. I'm like, you need to leave. And they're like, but it feels so good. I don't want to go home. This is what crystals do. They change the environment. So it can be an office, it can be your car, it can be a barn, it can be, it can be anything. You can literally change because we have this energy field. We are communicating in frequency with anything that comes into our energy field. So even having a crystal out here is totally impacting me because we are just not this body. We have an energy field around us. And the thing that I really like to teach, which we'll go into more tomorrow, is to understand what minerals make up each crystal. Because if you look at it like the periodic table, what does iron do? What does iron do for the body? What does iron do emotionally? Well, iron's a heavy metal. It's grounding, right? Heavy grounding. It's also like a coat of shining armor. Okay, it's protective. Crystals that have iron are described in all the crystal books as being grounding and protective. And now you know why. This was the thing that my crystal teachers could not teach me because they didn't know. They didn't dig that deep. And I wanted to know, why are y'all saying that amethyst is grounding and protective? Amethyst has iron in it. So you can literally look at a crystal, find the minerals, go to the periodic table, and then look, what does iron do for the body? What does calcium do for the body? What does lithium do for the body? And now you know what the crystal does for you because you will take on the qualities of that crystal just like you swallowed a pill. You don't even have to swallow the pill because we absorb by frequencies. That's what our body does. We don't have to internally ingest it, although we are going to drink crystal water by the end of the day. Now, one question that I get is, okay, Allie, there's all this great frequency about crystals. And I'm going to show you some pictures. We're going to dive a little deeper into frequencies. What is the frequency of, an amethyst versus a quartz? Which one's higher? Which one's lower? Which one's grounding? Well, there is no standardized frequency. And honestly, the testing is not easy to do. And here's why. Every crystal is unique and different. There are no two crystals that are the same. It's like fingerprints. It's like snowflakes. There are no two that are the same. A crystal coming out of Arkansas is vibrationally very different than the same crystal coming out of the Himalayan mountains in Tibet. Very different frequency. Very different frequency and different minerals. So it depends on how big the crystal is. It depends on where the crystal, how deep it was in the earth, what is the mineral composition, how much iron, how much whatever. So there is no standardized frequency, but you will start to understand how crystals interact with you. And this is why I like to teach to it's okay to have crystal books and to refer to them, but I hope by the end of this class you will trust how you feel with crystals. You don't need a book to tell you how crystals are going to make you feel. Okay? Because how you react to a grounding crystal may be very different than how I react. It's all very personal. Okay? But what is also fascinating about crystals, besides the energy of how we feel around them, is they are used in electrical instruments. They are used in medical instruments. The technology we are on right now is run by crystal energy. Silicon Valley utilizes silica, which is quartz. And that's what runs all of our technology. There are mineral wars happening right now on this planet. And nobody's really talking about it. But a lot of stuff that's happening on this planet is because of people want mineral rights. We need minerals for all the electric cars, for all the technology, for all the artificial intelligence, and whoever owns the minerals is the winner. And so we're in a lot of mineral wars right now. I personally know 2 miners in South Dakota who are in a mineral war over who owns the mineral rights to a particular area. It's amazing how minerals and crystals are used in our world. So getting back to the energy, everything, and I think we're on page 8 right now under energy of crystals. Everything has an energy field or a torus around it. We do, crystals do. And one book that I always recommend to everybody in every class that I teach is to read Dr. Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief. That book will dramatically change how you think about you and your health. I mean, it will blow apart probably everything that you believe about health and wellness. It is phenomenal. And he's a cellular biologist, so he's coming at it from a scientific perspective. But in that book, he talks about how our DNA has fractal antennas. Our DNA does. So think of these little antennas. And he talks about how these antennas are constantly surveilling the surrounding frequencies and then will reshape our DNA to synchronize with whatever frequency it comes into contact with. You know, a lot of people think, oh, my genetics, our DNA is written in stone. Nope, not at all. Scientifically, that's been disproven a lot. So we reshape ourselves based on the frequency we are in. So let's go back to those physics principles. You come into contact with my former coworker, Eeyore, who comes and first thing in the morning dumps all of his problems out on you. How are you going to feel? You're not going to feel good. Because your DNA fractal antennas are like, hey, there's Eeyore. Oh, he's super negative. Oh, now I feel super negative and I'm going to reshape myself to that. And that's why being in negative environments or being bombarded with electromagnetic frequencies, which we do not know the impacts of Wi-Fi on our body. There are a couple of studies, but we don't know. When we are impacted by unseen energies, by human energies, it can literally make us sick. But when our DNA fractal antenna is like, ooh, crystal, this is why you are drawn to certain crystals. because your DNA is literally, pew, I like you. You're pretty. I need to take you home. How am I going to justify a $400 crystal? I am so drawn to this crystal. I literally cannot set it down. I cannot stop thinking about it. I have to have this crystal. Am I crazy? Nope. You got an energy exchange going on. You got physics principles, you have geology happening, you have frequency communication between the mineral and the animal kingdom. You got your fractal DNA antennas going. This is not woo-woo. This is all science, okay? So, and it's how we work on energy blocks. You know, for those of us in the healing world, we will utilize healing energies and healing tools to help release energy blocks. We all store blocks, not only in our body, but like on the screen, in the energy field, we have these blocks and they're heavy and they weigh us down, but we can work with crystals to remove this because our DNA fractal antennas are literally latching on to the healing frequency of the earth coming through the minerals. So, all right, I want to talk about this because a lot of people are like, well, how do you really know that crystals have a frequency? Well, we can thank RM Cybernetics for utilizing Kirlian photography, which is heat-seeking photography. It's used in a lot of medical instruments like thermography. It's utilized by every government to spy on everybody to know where nuclear missiles are stored because nuclear missiles are hot, and Kirlian photography looks for heat and looks for frequency. So this is a photograph of a quartz point, and it shows the energy coming out of the crystal. And what is interesting, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, you see here on the top of the point, you see that concentration of energy? The shape of the crystal matters based on what you want it to do. If you want like a laser effect of energy, you work with a point. Okay, now you see how the energy is going straight up the center and then squeezing out of that point? There's your crystalline lattice. That's your C-axis that literally got captured by Kirlian photography. I think that's super fascinating. And then this one, this is a selenite cube. And if you're familiar with selenite, it grows in a rod. Okay, there's no point. It's just a rod. It's very fibrous. And you see the energy just kind of oozing off of all the sides. So there are certain crystals that you may want that softened energy. You don't necessarily want a point. But again, this shows the energy coming off of a crystal. Okay, this isn't woo-woo. So crystals are compressed energy, compressed frequency. And you know what's interesting when I really look at how we are utilizing minerals, crystals in our technology. We have, if you have a smartwatch, if you have any watch, it's run on silica, which is quartz. You know, when we're in Olympic season, you know how they have the big timers and at the bottom it says Swiss Quartz Technology? Quartz is the operative word. Your television screen is probably an LCD screen. Your computer is probably an LCD screen, right? LCD stands for liquid crystal display. Okay? How we're connecting right now is in large part due to crystalline energy, fueling this kind of technology. Computer memory chips have silica, and we're going to talk about how silica stores information. I mean, how can we fit videos and photos in these little tiny computers? We can thank crystals for that. Ultrasound devices, medical devices are run on crystalline energy. And when we look back into the lost civilizations, if you've ever heard of the lost civilization of Atlantis, the lost civilization of Lemuria, It's not mythology. They are finding the locations of these places. And it is widely believed that these were very advanced societies that ran all their energy, their power on crystalline energy. They abused that power and their worlds literally collapsed. Their civilizations collapsed. They're actually finding underwater civilizations all over the world, off the coast of Japan, off the coast of Egypt, in kind of the Bahamas area, off of Hawaii. They're finding all these underwater civilizations because when you think back to the beginning of the earth, it was water, then the land rose, but land goes up and down all the time. And so it is widely believed that these civilizations abused the power of crystals. And so I look at what we're doing now. Not that having crystals in your home, this is not the problem. It's how we're utilizing the crystals to power our world now. Are we going back into that energy? Who knows? Probably not even going to be resolved in our lifetimes, but we will certainly figure it out and find out. All right. I want to cover one more thing and then we'll take questions and take a break. I want to talk about the phantom leaf effect because this can be an important way that you utilize crystals. So this was a scientific study where they again used Kirlian photography to photograph a leaf. And you see the energy coming off of the leaf because everything has frequency. Just because you can't see the energy doesn't mean it's not there. Well, now you can see it. So they took a photo of the leaf and you see the energy. What I find interesting is on the points of the leaves is a concentration of energy because anything that naturally comes to a point, not forced into a point, not sculpted into a point, but naturally is in a point formation, concentration of energy comes out through it. The photo on the right, they took the leaves off, but they kept the stem, and there's still the imprint of the energy of the leaves there. I show this because we can utilize crystals for body parts that are gone. Okay? An organ that has been removed because it was diseased, a tumor that was removed because it was creating problems, a limb that has been removed because it was diseased. I mean, there's a lot of amputees who still have phantom pain. They still have itching or pain on the arm or the leg or the foot that is no longer there. And sadly, they're put on antipsychotic drugs because they go crazy trying to scratch something that isn't there. We can utilize crystals because the energy of what created the problem is still there. And this is something going back to Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief book. He talks about that. Yes, there are times when if there is a problem in the body, get it out. Okay? Get it out. But the frequency of what created it is still there. That's what you can use crystals on to change the frequency. Because crystals are oscillators of energy, which means they just shift frequency. Okay? They shift frequency. They oscillate the energy back and forth. That's what crystals are. That's why the tech industry uses crystals. They're oscillators. They shift frequency. So when body parts are missing, you can go in and utilize crystals to clear that energy, to change that energy, because otherwise that energy will go and find another place to hang out in the body. It's like, you know what? You took my gallbladder, so I think I'm going to go and hang out in the spleen. That's what happens. That's what happens. And that's why people see a lot of recurrences of diseases. We can utilize crystals on missing body parts. Okay. So,
Buddy.
just know that when we introduce a crystal into this energy field, when we lay it on our body, we carry it in our pocket, we hold it, we are synchronizing, entraining, resonating, coming into vibration with that crystalline energy. So we start superseding the entropy that our body naturally goes through. And it's not that we become immortal and we're going to live for trillions of years. That's not what it is. But we start to slow that down because we become the crystal. We become that frequency. And that's where the healing starts to happen. Because we have crystals in our body. Silica, which is quartz, lines all of our cell membranes. We would not be alive if we didn't have silica in the body. People who take silica capsules, silica supplements, have less inflammation and are healthier. Higher levels of silica in the body means health. We have magnetite in our brains. Magnetite is an iron and aluminum-based crystal, and it's what gives us a sense of direction. Animals have more magnetite, which is why they know when a tsunami is coming, they know when a tornado is coming, they feel vibration. They have a natural sense of direction. They have more magnetite in their brain than humans. And I always joke that women have more magnetite than men. All right. Before we go on, do you have any questions at this point? Let's see. I thought I saw a question. Melanie, is there a big difference between wild crystals? I like that. Crystals grown in the wild and lab-grown ones? Absolutely. Lab-grown crystals are not crystals. Humans cannot create a crystalline lattice. Absolutely not. And this is why I make fun of lab-created crystals on social media. And there's a lot of fake crystals on the market. China is creating a lot of them. And unfortunately, people are buying them. So yeah, lab-created crystals have zero crystalline frequency. Zero. Okay? They're primarily glass. They'll inject some minerals to try to make them look real. So, D, sounds like malignancy that metastasizes. Yeah. If we don't deal with the frequency that created a problem, you can physically remove the problem, but energetically it's still there. Yeah, Rach?
Yes, what I'm hearing in between what you're saying is that, for instance, cancer cells have a frequency. And so, have you ever heard of crystals being able to change the frequency of cancer cells?
I don't know of any studies on that, but what I do know is that crystals change our frequency.
Mm-hmm.
They elevate it because a cancer frequency is a very low vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it got into a wrong program and now it's in a loop. You introduce a crystal and you can start to change that frequency. So I'm not aware of any studies. I mean, there's no money to fund crystal
No.
studies. I mean, people aren't there yet. So that's why I have to piecemeal what science says and then apply it to the crystals. But yeah, I mean, when you start changing the frequency of the body, go back to those physics principles. Can a low frequency survive in the presence of a high frequency? Because what is the physics principle going to do? It's always going to raise up that low frequency. And you raise it up out of a low frequency, you could see a change. Now, here's the thing that I get a lot. I get people coming to me at end stage cancer for themselves or for their pets. Like they've tried everything and they're like, well, I have nothing to lose. I can try crystals, I can try oils. crystals like oils need time to work on the body. We may just run out of time. And that's why this is a proactive tool. Like taking a mineral supplement. This is proactive. Let's get ahead of a problem before it happens. Because if there's a problem, you may simply run out of time. The crystals may not have enough time to rewire the frequency. And when I'm looking at rewiring the frequency of a human body, I always see it like, remember the Rubik's Cube from the 80s? It's like that. Can it happen? Yeah, it can, but we may run out of time. We may run out of time.
Can I, can I
Yeah.
ask you one more question regarding that?
Yes.
Or I can ask it when we come back too.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so the crystal zircon, if someone has cancer, and if that's the highest frequency, crystal, is that right?
No, zircon is the oldest crystal.
Oh, it's the oldest. Okay. So what crystal has the highest frequency?
No idea because there's
No
no
idea.
frequency testing, but I would say it is clear quartz.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say clear quartz,
Okay.
which I will talk about tomorrow. And then certain quartz in certain locations, I believe is higher than others.
Okay. So the question is, if someone does have cancer, and it's not to the point that it's going to kill them, if they actually carried a crystal quartz, it could change the path of the cancer growth.
Yeah, it could.
Okay.
It could. Yeah. Yeah. So Frida, I see your question about how do you know the difference between real and fake crystals? It takes me like hours to explain that. So tomorrow when we go through the 10 crystals in this class, I've given you information in your workbook and I'll talk a little more about it. And then in the advanced class, I spend about 2 hours going through some of the more prominent fake crystals and showing you pictures and learning. It's just deep diving into what these crystals look like, what they feel like, what the minerals are. And it's like at this point in my crystal education, I can spot them like that. And you'll get to that point. You'll look at them and say, no, the earth doesn't produce that color. Mm-mm. No, they become pretty obviously fake. So, all right. Any other questions up until this point? Because we'll take a little 5-minute break here. Anything? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. Come back at 35 after the hour. All righty. Okay. All right. Now that was probably the deepest science that we'll get into in this class. In the advanced class, it's really intense and it'll hurt your brain in a good way. But in this class, I'm still going to talk about some of it, but we've gone through the most intense part at this point. All right, so are we good? We're good? We're ready to go on? Okay. All right. So we all know now that crystals have a frequency that comes off of them. Okay. Now, how far does that frequency go out? What's the difference between the small tumbled crystals that I sent to all of you and, the bigger pieces? The big ginormous pieces I have down in my living room. Well, why would you want a big piece? Why would you want a small piece? Each crystal has its own unique energy field. Okay, no two crystals are alike. And you can measure the energy field of a crystal with copper dowsing rods. Okay, are you all familiar with dowsing rods? They have been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And, a lot of societies use them to find water. What is water? It's minerals. What are crystals? Minerals. It's just hardened minerals. So I use copper dowsing rods, but like you can buy them for 20 bucks on Amazon, and you can measure the energy field of a crystal. So I want to show you 3 videos of 3 different size crystals. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's test 3 different size of crystals. So the first crystal we're going to test is an amethyst, and it's just a small 1-inch tumbled amethyst. I have a chair that it is sitting on, and I'm going to do this in my driveway. All right, here we go. All right, it opened, and we are 9 feet away. So that little tumbled crystal has an energy range of 9 feet. So what I'm doing is I'm holding these copper dowsing rods very still. So I'm locking my elbows into my side. I am putting my fists together so I'm very stable. And I'm waiting initially until, because this is what the rods do. They go like this because they're looking at all the minerals outside. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's a mineral, there's a mineral, there's a mineral, there's a mineral. You can actually, and this is just going to sound straight up woo-woo, but we live in an intention-driven world. It's how this quantum field works. I mentioned that the observer with intention, that's what you see. You can literally, like I say out loud and in my mind, focus on the amethyst. And all of a sudden, the copper dowsing rods do this. It's the creepiest and coolest thing in how it works. So I'm telling it, focus on that crystal. And then as soon as it gets to the outer band of the energy field, it does that. Okay, so that's how these copper dowsing rods work. You can do the same testing with a pendulum, and we are going to talk about a pendulum in a little bit. You can test. So, all right, so that small tumbled amethyst had an energy range of 9 feet. 9 feet. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next size crystal is a palm-sized crystal. Okay, so it's about, I don't know, 4 inches long. This is apophyllite. I talk about it in the advanced class. So let's get her on the chair. And let's test her. Watch for the dowsing rods to open. Okay, they opened. 24 plus 6. Okay, that goes out 30 feet. Palm-sized, 30 feet. A palm-sized crystal can literally fill an entire room with its energy. All right, let's do a bigger one. So the last one is a big crystal. It is about 12 inches tall. So if you can see how big it is compared to my hand. All right, let's test. My neighbors think I'm crazy when I do this in an in-person class. They're like, there she is again doing the weird stuff. So it opened that far away. 6, 7, 8. Okay, it was 8 of my little cement slabs, which are 8 feet long, so that goes out 64 feet. Moral of the story, the bigger the crystal, the bigger the energy field. There is a time and a place for every sized crystal, from the littlest to the biggest. So that's why I have so many crystals, because I have little ones that I'm going to lay on the body or make into a grid, and that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I have bigger ones that are strategically placed in rooms. You know, I have specific crystals that I put here in my office and crystals that don't belong here in the office. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But there is a time and a place for every size crystal. Okay? So, does that make sense? It's a really nifty way to test the energy field. And, you know, I love bringing those out at parties, because it freaks people out. They're like, what? That is the craziest thing. Okay. Dowsing rods have been used, I mean, for I don't even know how long, hundreds, if not thousands of years. So it's a really good detection tool for minerals. That's what crystals are. All right, let's go to the next topic. I want to talk about Mohs hardness and toxicity. So Mohs hardness is a scale that was created, and it's utilized in the geology field and the gemology field to categorize every single crystal and mineral according to its hardness or softness. So a lot of times, you know, we don't necessarily think of crystals being soft, but there are soft crystals. You can crumble them right in your hands. You can take your thumbnail, you can scratch them. And why this is important, 2 reasons. You're going to utilize crystals based on soft and hardness in 2 different ways. Number 1, putting them in water. If they are too soft, they don't go in water. That's why the crystals that you all received were in 2 different bags with 2 different instructions. Mohs hardness 6 and higher can go in water, because it's hard. It's hard. The water isn't gonna break it down. But if it is 5 or less, it could break down that crystal. So there is a crystal, I should have brought in an example, but it's Mohs hardness 2 on the screen. Gypsum, which is also called selenite. That's the more common name that you're going to find in a store. And if you soak selenite in water, depending on how big it is, it will dissolve completely within a day or 2. It'll just become this like slushy, gritty, watery mixture. It completely disappears. Talc, which is a Mohs hardness 1, you can take it in your hands, you can crumble it. Like talcum powder. Calcite, which seems like a really hard crystal, you can take your thumbnail, you can scratch it. Here's the thing. When a crystal that is soft is subjected to too much water, it can break it apart. So you can literally destroy the crystal. Now, there are also crystals that are hard, that because of what their formation is, I still will not soak them in water. So clusters, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, or black tourmaline. So you all got black tourmaline. I did not recommend putting it in water. So black tourmaline is, what is it, a Mohs hardness 7 or, yeah, 7. It can absolutely go in water, but because it grows in a rod with striations, water can get in through those striations, and I've had black tourmaline break apart. I've tested it. So there are even certain formations that I won't put in water. But this is important to know for creating crystal water to drink, or like I wrote about this in my oily crystal book. There are certain crystals that you can put in a carrier oil, you can put in an essential oil, but you have to make sure it's Mohs hardness 6 or higher. So your fluorites and your calcites and your selenites, they never go in liquid at all. Okay, that's a hard no. Now, the second reason for knowing Mohs hardness is that soft crystals work on really soft issues, okay? Acute issues, more emotional issues, things that are more fluid. Whereas the harder crystals work on hard issues, chronic issues. I mean, we're talking like chronic physical, like it's manifested in a physical issue. That's a hard chronic issue. You're going to use the harder crystals for that. So that's a good rule of thumb. Now, where do you find the Mohs hardness? Well, you can certainly Google it. But one of my favorite books, and it's at the back of your workbook in your resource page, I love Judy Hall's Encyclopedia of Crystals. This is my number one. I'm really not much of a crystal book person, but if I have to have a book, this is it, because she gives you the Mohs hardness of like 200 of the most popular crystals. And I like it because she color codes the chapters. So if you have like a green crystal or, you know, a purple crystal or a white crystal, and you're like, I don't even know what this is, you might be able to identify it in the book. But she gives you the Mohs hardness, but you can always Google it. Okay, and find that out. And this is going to be beneficial when you are cleansing crystals. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So, we're not there yet. Let's talk about toxicity of crystals. So, it really surprises a lot of people that most crystals are toxic. They're comprised of toxic minerals. Now, they're okay to hold. They're absolutely okay to hold, but you're not going to want to put them in water and drink them, or you're not going to want to soak them in water and create like a spray and spray it on your body or soak in a bathtub with them. Because when you think about all the minerals that are in the earth produces beneficial minerals and also minerals that are not healthy for us. I mean, they serve a purpose, but they are not good for our health, like arsenic. Yeah, we don't want to be ingesting that. Aluminum. I mean, there's a health and wellness movement to get away from like aluminum-based antiperspirants. So why would we want to drink aluminum crystal water? We don't. We don't. So I've given you a list of some of the minerals that are toxic that we need to avoid. And even in the back of your workbook, I've given you a list. It's not comprehensive, but it's got many of the more common crystals to avoid that are toxic. Now, you can have them in your environment. You can hold them. You can lay them on your body. You just do not want to ingest them. You don't want to put them in liquid. So when it comes to creating crystal water, which I'll talk about in a little bit, you have to look at both Mohs hardness and toxicity. Okay, so you have to deal with both. When it comes to, because there's a lot of different ways you can use crystals. You can put crystals in your bathtub and you can soak. You can create a foot soak. One of my favorite foot soaks is I put amethyst crystals at the bottom of the bowl. I put Epsom salt. I put some essential oils in there and I soak my feet because amethyst is safe to do that. So I'm getting like multiple frequency energies in one foot soak. So there's a lot of different ways in the water world where we can utilize crystals, but you have to make sure it's Mohs hardness 6 and higher and non-toxic crystals. Okay. All right. Are we good with that? All right, let's talk about crystal forms. So this is something that I really love to teach. And then I go super in depth in the advanced class because every formation of a crystal and every formation on a crystal has an energy to it. It literally has a meaning to it. So I want to give you some of the more common ones and start paying attention if you are drawn to certain formations, to certain colors, to certain crystals, because that'll tell you. Remember, our DNA fractal antennas are having a mineral conversation. And if you're drawn to a crystal or if you're repelled by a crystal, pay attention to that because it's going to tell you what you are working on. So your mind may not know that, hey, I'm really anxious and angry and I need to be more grounded. And that's why I'm super drawn to like deep purple crystals and the black tourmalines. I'm really, really drawn to those. Yeah, because your energy is telling you you need to ground yourself because those heightened energies, the anxiety, the anger, the agitation, you're going to burn out and you're going to get sick. So your body is telling you, go for these. This is what you need. Okay. So start paying attention to that. So on the screen, this is a druzy crystal. And druzy crystals are little crystals on top of a bigger crystal. And they're so little, you need, I don't even have it here. In the advanced class, I give everybody a jeweler's loupe. So if you take a jeweler's loupe or a magnifying glass and you look at, it looks like sugar. If you look at it, those are actually crystal points. They're so microscopic and so tiny, it just looks like sugar. And the druzy formation is sparkly. Sparkle energy is very uplifting. I mean, think of Tinkerbell, okay? It's a Tinkerbell energy. It's very uplifting. It's very joyful. It's very shiny, catches your eyes. It makes you happy. Druzy crystals are for people who suffer from depression, who maybe are sad, maybe they're in grief, or maybe they do work that is really difficult and they just need that flash and that sparkle energy. I have been in a druzy phase for 15 years and I don't see myself getting out of it anytime soon because the legal work that I do is really hard because I specialize in how animal abuse links with family violence. That's no fun for anybody. So I am very drawn to sparkly crystals. I love them. I can't get enough of them. I collect them. I stock them in my store. So people tend to get in my store what I like because I'm very drawn to them. So if you are drawn to druzy crystals, you just want more sparkle in your life, and that's what they do. So here's another good example. So I also collect heart-shaped crystals. So pay attention to the shapes that you collect. So you see, this is called a rose amethyst. It's rose quartz and amethyst, but you see all those little tiny points? And that's not a big crystal. It's only about 4 inches tall. So all those points are really microscopic and super shiny. All right, the next one is a cluster. So a cluster is larger individual points, not the little sugar looking points, but larger points that you could literally break off of a cluster. And they grow together on a matrix. Now, when I use the word matrix, that is the rocky underside of a crystal. So underneath that, that is a rutilated smoky quartz. Underneath that, it just looks like rock. Here, I'm reaching. Oh, no, that's too big of a crystal. It's too heavy. So here's one that I'm showing. This is an amethyst. It's very dark. This is just very rocky. It's actually covered in hematite, but it's just rocky. That's the matrix. That's what it literally grew out of, the rocky matrix. Okay. So clusters are really good for spraying energy in all different directions. Okay, remember that Kirlian photography photo of the point where you saw a concentration of energy literally squeezing itself out of the point and spraying? That's what a cluster does. But the cluster points are in all different directions. So that's what a cluster does. So quartz is a very high vibrational crystal. This is quartz. It's smoky quartz, rutilated quartz, spraying that energy. So that's downstairs on my fireplace mantle, and it just sends a tremendous energy out. Having just a nice sized cluster on a dining room table, on a coffee table, on a kitchen table will totally transform the energy of that room. When we talk about grids tomorrow, putting a cluster in the middle of a grid will take all the crystals in that grid and spray it out into the energies. So there is a time and a place for clusters. And remember, you may not need a huge cluster, but if you do have a big one, it could literally fill your entire house and change the energy. All right, let's talk about points. There are single terminated and double terminated points. So single terminated is where you just have one point, okay? Now the one on the left is polished. When you are dealing with polished crystals, especially points, you don't necessarily know if the polisher has that point exactly over the C-axis, okay? Remember the C-axis? That's the center. That's where the concentration of energy comes out. And so when you look at this one on the left, you can see internally, see all those inclusions that are in there? All that activity? Some people look at that and say that is a very low quality crystal because you see all that stuff. No, that is a very high quality crystal in the energy world. If you buy a quartz that is so clear like glass, it probably is glass. You want the crystals that have these inclusions. But what I look at is, okay, I'm wondering if, I don't even know how to draw a circle here. Hold on. Do I know how to do this? Let's see if I can do it. Oh, it's the wrong color, but you see what I just circled? That's the C-axis. And it starts with that. That's how I know that's the C-axis. And so you take it all the way up. Yeah, that person did a really good job polishing the point. The point is over the C-axis. I have some crystals where the point is over here and the C-axis is over here. A little hard to squeeze that energy out. But a single terminated has one point, and that's where the energy flows. And it comes out like a laser. So be careful where you point your points. Okay, you don't want to point them at anybody. Now, a double terminated naturally grows like how it grows. It grows naturally terminated. I do not know how to get, oh, darn. I do not know how to get that to go away. So unfortunately, that's going to be there. Double terminated grows not in a matrix. It grows loose in the soil. And so the single terminated grows like, all right, come on, grows like this. And then they just start breaking the points off. But a double terminated does not grow like that. It grows loose in the soil. And so it has 2 points. And so the energy comes out of both sides. This is a really good crystal to have when you want to send energy in both directions. So tomorrow we'll talk about how to put double terminated in between chakras So let's say you want to have more heartfelt communication coming out of your throat rather than anger and judgment and agitation. You can put a double terminated in between your throat and your heart to draw up more of the heart energy into your communication. See how that works? Double terminated is also good for grids where we can send energy into a grid and we can send energy out of a grid. It's a nice flow energy. So there is a time and a place for both. All right. There is, I really do not know how to get rid of this. Does anybody know how to get rid of?
I would think that if you can find your eraser, see how you're doing that? If you know
Yeah.
how you can click on a color, if you look in that, just like there you go.
All right. I did it. Thank you. I normally don't do that for that reason. It's like I can't undo it. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Going back. Okay. Wands. All right. Tomorrow we'll talk more about how to use wands, but there are two different type of wands. One is very polished and rounded, and the other one is a natural point. When you're dealing with a natural point, it's a laser energy. We're going to use that on our chakra column. We're going to use that with grids. You can use that, if you've got a pain, or let's say you've got something in your body. It could be a tumor, it could be a cyst, it could be an area that's bothering you. You can use a wand, shoot that energy in like a laser. Whereas the one on the left is called a massage wand. And you can take that and you can literally dig it into the muscular nooks and crannies on your body. If you get a lot of sinus issues, you can take it and you can literally touch it and push it into your skin. You're getting the crystalline energy in, but it's softer so that you can massage because you don't want to stick a point. That would hurt. So there's wands that you can work with. There are tumbled and polished crystals, and some of these are hand polished. I see this happening when I, go to the big gem shows. They're literally polishing on site, using their hands, or they're using a machine, or they'll put like the smaller pieces in a tumbler. Tumbler kind of reminds me of like a dryer. It just goes round and round and round and round and round, and they put the raw crystals in there with some grit and some sand and leave it on for a couple of days and they come out polished. And what it does is it mimics what a river does, naturally going over the crystals to polish them. So remember how I said I'm going to talk about the scientific perspective and the purist perspective? The purists detest the polished crystals. They want raw, natural, no tampering by humans. Whereas the scientists say, you can polish these. It still has the crystalline lattice. It still has crystalline energy. You are not killing the crystal. Whereas the purists are like, you've killed it. It's dead. We're going to have to do a whole ceremony and bring it back to life. The thing about these two philosophies, you may flow back and forth between them all the time. I have moments where I am mostly science and a little purist, and then the next moment I'm 100% purist, and then on another topic I'm 100% scientist. Wherever you are is right. Both are right. Neither is wrong. It's just two different perspectives. But scientifically, you can polish a crystal. It still has the crystalline lattice. You can take a crystal, you can slam it on the floor, you can break it into all sorts of itty bitty bits and pieces, and when you put it under a microscope, it still has the crystalline lattice in it. The purists are horrified. They're like, that crystal has died. If a crystal breaks, it dies. Follow what feels right for you. Okay, there are very few things that can kill a crystal. One of them is basically a high frequency, like a sonic boom, that can actually shatter a crystal. And bonding minerals to the outside of a crystal with a high heat mechanism that can absolutely destroy the crystalline lattice. It shatters it. So all the aura crystals on the market that have titanium bonded to the outside of them, it's not a crystal anymore. Absolutely not. So, but other than that, crystals are very hardy. I mean, that's why they're millions and billions of years old. So polishing them does not destroy them according to the scientific viewpoint. But polished crystals are great for just kind of oozing the energy out into an environment. They are good for laying on the body. They are good for making grids. They are good for, you can put a whole bunch of them in a bowl and let them work together, and it can be very decorative. So there's a time and a place for polished and tumbled. There is now a huge movement of using crystal rollers, facial rollers, and crystal gua sha on your skin to do a lot of different things. They help with circulation, they help with inflammation, lymphatic drainage, help with absorption of products and skin vitality. They can increase collagen and elastin production. They oxygenate, they can reduce puffiness and relax tension. So like I like taking some of the Young Living facial products, like they have that new Beauty Glow. Is that what it's called? The one with the CBD, the Beauty Glow? I forget the name of it. I think that's what it's called. It's the brand new one. And I put that on my face and then I take my gua sha, because eventually all of our muscles sag and I'm pushing the muscles up. Like, let's stop the sagging. So now, unfortunately, I do find a lot of fake glass rollers and gua shas on the market. A lot of fake. So, these should feel very cold to the touch. Most crystals are cold. So jade and quartz are used in this. But again, you want to make sure you're not rubbing something toxic on your face. I saw labradorite gua shas in Tucson. Labradorite's full of aluminum. Okay, enjoy that aluminum that you're rubbing all over your face. It's okay to hold it, but when you start with a liquid, rubbing it into your skin, that's a whole different thing. So you need to make sure that what you're using has a Mohs hardness 6 and higher and is non-toxic. Okay, so there's different ways to work with crystals. Oh, we're going to get to that in a second. I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second. There's every shape, every size, every point, every tumbled, every little crystal, every big crystal. There is a time and a place for using them. It just depends on how you want to use them. And, that's what we'll talk about a lot tomorrow. But just remember that there is no scientific proof that if you polish a crystal, if you cut a crystal, if you puncture a crystal and make jewelry, you haven't killed it. You haven't killed it at all. Now the purists believe that. So go do what feels right for you. And like I said, I flip-flop back and forth. I tend to be a little more scientific, but I really do like the natural formed crystals. I mean, that's really what I like to go for. But every now and then, and this is the attorney in me, and sometimes I just can't help myself. I like to, I don't know, play devil's advocate with the purists because I have a couple of students who are 100% purist. You are never going to get them into the scientific realm. They are straight up purists and that works for them. And they're like, you have got to leave crystals in their natural state. Don't polish them. If they break, oh my gosh, it's Armageddon. And so I asked them, I'm like, okay, so crystals need to be left in their natural state. So that means you don't pull them out of the earth. And I just get a lot of blank stares. And I'm like, so we have to leave them in the earth, right? And they're like, well, I wouldn't go that far. Okay, so you're not 100% purist. We can pull them out of the earth. So I just like to have fun with them with that. But wherever you land is right for you, and you're going to fluctuate. Okay. So when it comes to the healing part of crystals. Crystals have been utilized for thousands and thousands of years. Every ancient civilization, from the Mayans to the Incans to the Egyptians, American Indians, I mean, all of them utilized crystals in a variety of ways. They utilized them in ceremonies, religious ceremonies, healing ceremonies, death ceremonies. They utilized them in war. You know, they would put crystals on the soldiers to protect them going into war. You know, they would put them, Egyptians would put crystals on the breastplates of the mummies and bury them with crystals so that in the afterlife that they were protected. And when it comes to healing, you know, and this is where I've had a lot of interesting conversations with some of the people that I studied with, some of my friends who went through training with me. And there are a lot of crystal people who say, do not use the word healing. Healing, like come up with a different word, crystal therapy, crystal treatment. And I'm like, what's wrong with the word healing? Because healing does not mean cure. That's not what healing means. So healing is going through the condition that you're going through. And maybe you learn something. Maybe you get better. Maybe you don't get better. But healing is learning how to balance the body and learning whatever the lesson is in whatever is going on. What I have found is that crystals work quickly on minor issues. If you are stressed out, lay on the couch, put crystals on you, put a Hallmark movie on, put on something that's not going to stress you out. Okay? Like that, you will de-stress. Okay? You need energy. Take some high energy crystals, put them in your pocket, and go about your day and watch what happens. You have a headache, put a crystal on your forehead. I'll talk about that tomorrow. And bam, you're going to feel better. But when you are working on trying to change the frequency of something long-standing, something chronic, something physical, it's going to take time. Because in that egg-shaped energy field that we have around us, everything comes from the outside in. And all these layers have different meaning. You know, the closest layer to our body is our physical layer. It is actually the electrical field that think of it like your circuit breaker, electrical box in your home. This layer, a couple inches off the body, that's our circuit breaker. That runs everything. Outside of that is our emotional layer. Outside of that is our mental layer with all of our thoughts and beliefs. And then we start getting into spiritual karmic layers. Everything that we experience, other people's stress, Wi-Fi, you know, collective anger, whatever is going on, starts from the outside and it comes in. And we first feel it in the mental field, in our thoughts and how we're thinking. And then we start feeling it emotionally. And then as soon as we feel it physical, it has gone through all the layers. It took time to come in and it's going to take time to back out. Because once it hits the physical layer, that's the densest layer. That's like trying to take a nail, a 12-inch long nail that is really, really deep. It's going to take you a while to pull that baby out. And that's why when there is something chronic or long-term, you've got to give it time. You got to give it time. Now, here's the thing. If you are continuing to bombard yourselves with the frequencies that created the problem, while you're trying to use crystals as an antidote, principle of interference, that's going to happen. And you're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel good. So like if you want to use crystals to help with digestive issues, but you keep eating crap food that you know you shouldn't eat. Principle of interference, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel good. And the crystals are going to be like, we're trying, but you're bombarding with the energies that we're trying to combat. And there's just only so much that we can do. So what I love about crystals is they really help us get into what I call an elevated frequency. I always visualize myself in an airplane. Like I'm in an airplane and I'm looking out the window and I look at things and it's like, oh, look at that. Like I'm looking at things from curiosity rather than getting caught in the emotions of things. It's like, oh, look at that. I can now see things from a heightened level and I can solve it because we can't solve problems from the energy that created it. We've got to elevate. This is what crystals do. They get you into an elevated frequency of thinking, and all of a sudden you start having aha moments and you're problem solving. And it's like, well, I don't know where this thought came from, but I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I'm looking at this person differently and I'm looking at this situation differently. Like I feel like I can see, like you can see all around you. It's just, it's fascinating what crystals can do. And just understanding that if we can catch the energies out here in this energy field before they hit the body, because by the time you have a physical issue, it's spent a lot of time in this field, junking it up. That's the baggage. As we get older, we're like, oh, I have so much baggage. Yeah, because we have all this crap. We have all this crap in our energy field. Crystals, we can literally sweep crystals through the energy field and start cleaning up us. We can clean ourselves up. You know, the things that are causing our system to go haywire. There is a lot of nervous system dysregulation right now. Huge nervous system dysregulation. You start laying some grounding crystals on you, all of a sudden your circuit breaker is going to be firing properly. Okay. We can use crystals during like shocking and traumatic moments because that comes in like a bullet through our energy field. We can work with crystals to literally change our mindset because again, it's like going up in the airplane and it's like, oh, now I can see, like I can see this is the problem. This is what I need to work on. This is what I need to do. You get a different perspective because it's frequency. You're shifting your frequency out of the frequency that is the problem. Okay, you can't sit in that frequency and solve it. You have to get out of that frequency. So, you know, we're going to talk about placement of crystals on the body. We're going to talk about drinking crystals, all sorts of different things. And just remember to keep an open mind. See, people don't have to believe about crystals for the crystals to work on them. I literally see this at crystal shows where invariably it's a husband and wife. And the wife has the credit card and is going bananas. And the husband is carrying the bags. And the husband's like, what are we doing? Why am I even here? What's going on? But I always see him reach out and touch a crystal. That's the frequency exchange between mineral to mineral, the DNA fractal exchange. He can't help himself. He's touching the crystals, and the crystal is now working at that point. Being around the crystals are working. But when you have a belief, when you work with crystals with intention, like I'm stressed out, I need to calm down, I need to let this go, I'm going to work with this crystal, all of a sudden you got all that frequency coming together to help you. So just pay attention to the crystals. Like I said, the crystals that you're drawn to, the colors that you're drawn to, the shapes that you're drawing to, because each crystal is unique, which is why you could look at a table full of rose quartz, but there's one that's going to catch your attention. That's the one for you. That's the one that's like, hey, over here. It's like going to an animal shelter. There's always one cat or dog that's like, yo, mom, get me out of here. There's always one. Crystals really do pick the person, but it's physics that are involved. Your body is really drawn to what that crystal has to offer. So, you know, I'm going to apologize right up front if you are drawn to like a $5,000 crystal, because I have literally walked away from crystals that I was drawn to and they haunt me in my dreams. It's like I dream about them. It's like, oh gosh. So, my tip for that, take a picture of the crystal and you can literally work with the crystal's energy through a photo. Because you will find crystals where you're like, I'm not going to pay that price. Just take a picture of it. It does work. All right. Before we go to the next section of caring for crystals, do you have any questions about what I've covered so far? Okay. Has anybody had the experience where you're drawn to a crystal and you're like, what is going on? Like, why am I drawn to this? Why do I have to have this crystal? Has anybody experienced that? I know Dee has a lot.
Most of them are in your store.
Yeah. You're not crazy. You're not, it's physics. It's physics and it's biology. That's what it is. So if anybody ever tries to shame you about your love of crystals, just tell them it's physics and biology. Like, why aren't you drawn to crystals? That's the thing. Everybody is. Everybody is. But there's a lot of people that are in the closet and they don't want to admit it. So do not ever apologize for your love of crystals. All right. Do you have we'll take a little break right before we do the crystal taste testing. So at this point, I don't think you need anything else. Okay, we're going to go on to caring for crystals. So, when it came to cleansing your crystals, and this, I'll tell you, this is a hot topic, and it really depends on, you know, where you land. Are you a scientific viewpoint? Are you a purist viewpoint? I can tell you, you don't need to cleanse crystals as often as you think you do. Okay, because crystals do not take on negative energy internally. They don't. They have this crystalline lattice that is built on strength. It is literally, I go deeper into it in the advanced class, but it's got the shape of hexagons and oh gosh, I already forgot the name of the triangle. Oh my word, what is that called? A tetrahedron, thank you. It is built on these sacred geometry, like platonic solids, so it has strength to it. Now, can a negative energy attach to the outside of something? Like if you've ever been in an antique store and you're like, ooh, Aunt Nellie is really haunting that armoire. Like, ooh, what is going on with it? Yes, I mean, there could be an energy on the outside, but scientifically, it is not possible for a negative energy to infiltrate the inside of a crystal and turn it negative. I want to make that very clear. Now, I do believe it's important to cleanse crystals when you bring them home. Number one, if they can go in water, you want to cleanse for hygienic reasons because you never know what 4-year-old touched that crystal and who knows where their hands have been. So, in addition to a salt water soak, I literally will take my Thieves Household Cleaner and I will hygienically clean the crystals that can be cleaned with water. Even the ones, you know, like calcite and fluorite that are soft, as long as they don't have too many nooks and crannies, I may do a real quick spray, run it under water for 5 seconds and then dry it off super fast. Now, like selenite, Mohs hardness 2 and under, I'm not going to do that. So why you want to cleanse is hygienic reasons, or if there is any energy attached to the outside, let's get that energy off. Now, when you cleanse a crystal, if that base resonant frequency, that dominant oscillatory rate has been impacted, maybe by the mining process or whatever, the cleansing with salt, salt is very powerful for cleansing and resetting energy because salt is a mineral. So we're using a mineral to cleanse and reset the mineral of the crystal. Okay, like equals like. Now, crystals don't lose their frequency very easily. Now, if crystals are out in an environment that is super negative all the time, or if crystals were used on a really difficult health situation, if you feel the need to cleanse those crystals, do it. I want you to trust your intuition. If the thought crosses your mind that you need to cleanse a crystal, trust that and do it. I have moments where I'm like, I think I'm going to cleanse this crystal. And then I have other crystals that I'm telling you right now, I have not cleansed them in 10 years. They are perfectly fine. I pendulum test them. We'll talk about this in a little bit. They are perfectly fine. They don't need to be cleansed. I swear they're laughing at me like, oh, human, you're so cute. You think you need to cleanse me? Like, do you not know that I'm like 2.8 billion years old? Like, you need to be cleansed, not me. So my crystals sass back to me all the time. There's also a lot of crystal books and some crystal teachers that talk about how clear quartz can cleanse crystals and selenite can cleanse crystals and kyanite and citrine can cleanse crystals. Okay, if that's what you believe, then go for it. I'm not dismissing that at all. But scientifically, the scientific viewpoint is like, okay, well, if you think kyanite and selenite can cleanse a crystal, then why can't amethyst? Why can't carnelian? Why can't black tourmaline? Because they're all crystalline. Why some and why not others? And there is no explanation for that. Nobody has ever been able to explain that. I do have moments where I put crystals on top of, I have some clear quartz slabs with lots of points. And if I break a crystal, I'll put it on that. That is a very purist thing of me to do. There's no scientific validity for that, but I feel like I need to do that. Okay, so if you feel that need, go for it. But there is no scientific proof that some crystals can cleanse others and other crystals can't. A crystal is a crystal. Okay, it's just the minerals that are different. That's all it is. So I've already talked about if a crystal feels negative, it's just bubbling up something in you that is ready to be released. So if it just bubbles up something, please get that crystal and watch what happens. So for over a decade, I was terrified of a crystal called epidote. I talk about epidote in the advanced class. Absolutely terrified of it because it is a very deep transformation crystal. And the way it's talked about in the crystal circles is that it will literally strip away anything in your life that is not aligned with your soul mission. Okay, what if I'm not ready for all the things to be stripped away? And I had a friend work with epidote. And within like a couple of weeks, she lost her job. She got a terrible health diagnosis. Her husband divorced her, went bankrupt, and foreclosed on her house. And I'm like, that's what you get for working with epidote. And she's like, no, it can't be that. And I'm like, this was the purist in me. I'm like, I am terrified of that crystal. She ended up working more with that crystal. She has a beautiful life now. Beautiful. She built her own business. She's doing healing work. She's super healthy, very happy, has a beautiful home. And that's what Epidote did. It transformed her. It took her out of a very toxic environment and put her in a very healthy environment, but it scared me. Now I cannot get enough of Epidote. It's like I got to the point where it's like, I'm good. I can now work with this and I'm obsessed with it. So I paid attention to that. Like, why am I nervous about it? It's like, can we just do things in little bits and pieces? So pay attention to the crystals that you react to, the ones that you're drawn to, the ones that you're like, ooh, I'm not so sure about that. And it'll really tell you where you are. Okay. So let's see. Where am I now? When we're cleansing crystals, let's get back to cleansing crystals. Again, in water, Mohs hardness 6 or higher. And if it's under Mohs hardness 6, just set on a bed of salt, or you can bury it in salt, not Morton's iodized salt. You want to use a sea salt. You can use a Celtic sea salt. It needs to be a sea salt, like truly a natural salt. And I like to use spring water or tap water, never distilled water. Distilled water has no minerals in it. Spring water and purified tap water have minerals in them. And it's the minerals in the water with the minerals of the salt that cleanse the minerals of the crystal. You see how we're getting the mineral kingdom to communicate with each other? That's how that works. Now, there's other things that you can do, and these are very purist techniques. Putting crystals in the sun. Okay, putting crystals in the full moon. Back in the day, I used to take all my crystals outside and put them in the full moon to just basically recharge them, just kind of get them all juiced up. It would literally take me a full day to take them all outside now. I don't have time for that. And one of my students was like, don't you feel bad that you're like denying your crystals the full moon energy? And I really thought about that. It's like, am I a bad crystal mom? And then I thought about this. I don't know if you're like me, but I am highly influenced by the full moon. I have a hard time sleeping when it's a full moon. And I am influenced when I'm inside my house, in my bed, and I'm like, "Urgh!" I'm having a hard time sleeping because the moon literally penetrates my house. So if the full moon can penetrate my house and keep me awake, then it can penetrate my house and get to the crystals. Okay. So I don't put my crystals outside unless we're having something like a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse or something like that. But you can put crystals in a window if you want. You know, crystals are highly influenced by the sun and the moon because the sun and the moon highly influences the planet, and crystals come from the planet. So crystals love moon and sun energy. And sun is it's just cleansing. Sun is a cleansing energy. So that's why a lot of people like to do that. There is a myth that goes around that you don't put dark crystals in the sun or a sunny window. And I call it a myth now because I have literally been testing this concept with a very dark amethyst in a sunny window that's been sitting in this sunny window for 10 years and it's never lightened up. Now, fake crystals will lighten up in the sun, and that's how you know. But I don't buy into that. Don't put dark crystals in a sunny window. I've never seen them lighten up. So, go ahead and do it. Some people like to smudge crystals with, by burning sage. That is an ancient technique coming out of a lot of ancient civilizations. And I do that every now and then. You can use sound to cleanse crystals because sound has a frequency. And sound frequencies are very healing, very cleansing. So I like to play sound frequencies on my television. I stream YouTube on my television downstairs. That's where my cats are. They're listening to sound frequency music, and that frequency is very cleansing to crystals. It's a very soothing energy. So you can use sound, you can use bells, you can use crystal singing bowls, Tibetan singing bowls, rattles, shamanic drums. That's another way to cleanse crystals. My my Reiki master teacher, he takes a crystal, taps it 3 times, and blows on it. When when I saw him do that, he looked right at me like she's gonna have a fit. Like her lawyer brain is gonna lose it. And I just looked at him and I'm like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, what? How does that cleanse a crystal? Tapping it 3 times and blowing on it. He's like, I don't know, but that's what I do. So I actually give the answer in the advanced class, but here's the short thing. We do things in the energy world in cycles of 3. And you're going to see that when we talk about the grids. 3 is not a physical number. You cannot root down to a root number and find the numbers 3, 6, or 9. This is actually something that comes out of Tesla math. And 3, 6, and 9 are energetic. Whereas all the other numbers are, you can root down to those numbers in math. So I know that probably is very confusing right now. I go deeper into it in the advanced class, but it's why we do things in 3s, and it's why 1, 2, 3, he's using the energy of the number 3 to clear crystals. And then air is also cleansing. So do what works for you, but I am a firm believer of salt water or laying crystals on salt because scientifically salt has been proven to cleanse, not only physically, but energetically. And then after you cleanse a crystal, some people like to charge or activate crystals to work with them. Crystals do not need to be told what to do. Crystals don't need to be activated. They don't go dormant. But if you like the ceremony of activating, what it is you're activating yourself to work with the crystal. You're not activating the crystal, okay? That's really how I have found it to be. Now, you can put the crystals in a full moon, which is very energizing, but when you want to activate yourself to work with a crystal, and I do not do this with tumbled crystals, but like the bigger pieces, just I hold the crystals in my hand, and you can surround yourself with white light if you want, but really all I do is I hold the crystal and I ask it to work with me, to work with my energetic frequency for my highest good, my highest healing, my highest ability to work with it for however I'm going to use it. Maybe I'm going to work with it with animals or other people, and to work according to its natural energetic powers. I'm not telling it with my human limited brain what to do because the crystal is like, oh, Allie, I'm 2.8 billion years old. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to work on you. Because physics principles, I'm up here and you're down here, and I'm going to pull you up to my level and we're going to have a conversation. Crystals dominate. So the activation is activating me to connect to the crystal. That's what it means. Okay. But I do hear a lot of teachers talk about you have to activate the crystal to work. Literally, I hear the crystals laughing like, oh, no. They're already doing their job. They're like, you literally cannot silence us. We're super strong. So, but it's the ceremony of it. That's what people like. It's the ceremony. So you can do that. Like I said, if you feel the need to cleanse crystals, trust your intuition. If it crosses your mind, do it. Now, I want to talk about if a crystal cracks or breaks. So in your workbook, I have 2 very interesting stories. So you see the crystal that's literally on my floor and broken? That was a huge 18-inch piece of apophyllite. I mean, it was super heavy. It was way too big. I literally lifted it up off of my fireplace mantle very gently, and it broke into all those pieces. Literally, I only picked it up 6 inches off the mantle, and it just broke. I was horrified. horrified. But now it's in smaller pieces that I can work with. I mean, I got one piece here in my office. I got one piece in my bedroom. I've got one piece downstairs. It's more manageable. I can work with it. So that crystal wanted to be in multiple places. And then all the little bits and pieces I put out in my garden. I like to put crystals in my yard. So the crystal didn't die. Okay, so scientifically, crystals like that, they don't die if they're broken. Oh, Dee, I see your selenite broke apart like that. Yeah, it doesn't die. Okay, that crystalline lattice goes through and through, and the molecular structure, I mean, it is in every little bit and piece of that crystal. Okay, it's like if you go to a lake and you scoop up a bucket of water and you walk away, you have the lake in that bucket. It's just a fractal, it's just a small piece of the bigger lake. That's what crystals are. You can break them into all sorts of little pieces. You can turn them into bracelets, and they're still crystals. Okay, they're just a fractal of the bigger piece. Now, if you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for this crystal, I feel like it needs a little bit of healing. One of the deepest cleansing techniques you can do is to bury a crystal in the ground for 7 days or longer. You're literally putting it back to the mothership of where it came from to get the Earth's healing frequency. So I have a friend that I certified in crystals. He's a mechanical engineer, retired, and he has gone around and rescued some of these aura quartz crystals that are bonded with titanium in high heat. Those crystals are deader than a doornail. No crystalline lattice, they are dead, absolutely dead. He buried them in the ground for 6 months, and when he dug them up, well, first of all, he took off the titanium using sandblasting and then buried them in the ground to see if they would come back to life, and they did. Because the thing about quartz that you're going to learn tomorrow, quartz is cold. When you hold quartz, it's cold to the touch. When they had the titanium on, they were room temperature, but as soon as he pulled them out of the ground, they were cold again. So that's the crystalline energy came back. So you can bury the crystals, just mark where you bury them, because I've had a lot of crystals disappear. So they were either stolen by squirrels and chipmunks, or they literally sucked into the earth. Okay, so just mark where you put them. The other picture in your workbook is of a bracelet that I was wearing. So I had a cat. She passed away about we're going on 7 years. Wow. She was 19 and a half years old. I had her that whole time. She was my soulmate. Beautiful black cat named Lucy. Yeah, she was 19 and a half, but I was shattered, literally shattered with her passing. And I was wearing this bracelet, and I was transporting her body to be cremated. And as I was driving, spontaneously, the bracelet just broke. I didn't do anything. It just broke, and all the crystals flew all over the car. I mean, the bracelet shattered because I was shattering. And so when I got home, it's like, okay, I'll find all the little crystal pieces. And so I'm searching around the bottom of my car. I only found half the crystals. Where'd the other half go? I don't know. I have a theory. So anyway, that bracelet sat on a big slab of pink Himalayan quartz. I talk about that crystal in my advanced classes. It is one of the deepest heart healers. And I put that bracelet on that big slab for 5 years. It was a very purest thing for me to do. I wanted that bracelet to heal, and it stayed there year after year after year. So it was about this time 3 years ago. I was teaching this class in person and talking about this, and I walked over and I pulled it off of the slab, and I went back to the dining room table, and I'm holding it up and telling the story. And as I held it, the string broke and the crystals went everywhere. And everybody in the class was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, okay, what is going on energetically? Tell me what's going on. And by the time we got done trying to figure out the energetics, like getting out of our logical mind, energetically figuring out what happened, we came to the conclusion that number one, it was time for the bracelet to come off of the pink Himalayan cluster. It was ready to come to work again, and it didn't want to be in a bracelet. So what I did was I took some of those pieces, and I have a locket. It's really an essential oil locket, but I took the little lava bead out and I put those crystals in it because it's pink morganite, which is a really heart healing crystal. And I put some of those pieces in the locket because at that time my mom was in the final stages of Alzheimer's. And a week later she passed away. That crystal didn't want to be a bracelet. It wanted to sit here right at my heart to help me through that passing of my mom because it was horrible to watch. It was just horrible to watch her decline. It was ready to be utilized in a different energy, a different form. Remember, energy is neither created nor destroyed. We just transform it. It wanted to transform from a bracelet to a necklace. So just really, really interesting. And then one of the students said, what happened to the other half of the crystals? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you think? And one of them said, Lucy took the other half. Because crystals do disappear. When you start working with crystals, you're going to lose crystals. They disappear. And it's like, where do they go? I don't have time to talk about all the dimensions that we live in on this planet, but they can go into another dimension. And so we came to that conclusion because they weren't in my car. They were gone. They just disappeared. So, moral of the story, if it breaks, it doesn't die. But you can do whatever technique you want that feels right to you. Okay? All right. And then storing crystals. There are a variety of philosophies on storing crystals. I would recommend now, especially if you have crystals and you don't remember the name, come up with a storage system. Because you're probably going to start buying a few more crystals now after this class. Come up with how you want to organize them. The purists like to have their crystals in natural containers. So wood containers. I have a friend who stores them in silk bags with their labels. I have another friend who stores them in socks where she lost one sock and only has, one. She stores them in socks. And then, the scientists are like, you can store them in whatever container you want. If you want to put them in a plastic container, you can do that. I like to have crystals out. Okay. I don't put my crystals in a container. Now, in your workbook, there is a picture of their wooden shadow boxes. And that's what I like to put my tumbled crystals in and label them. Because to me, all the black polished crystals look exactly the same. Whether it's onyx, jet, black tourmaline, even obsidian, they start looking the same. So I have them labeled, and of course they're alphabetized because I can't help it. But come up with a system that works for you, okay? So that you know, because I have so many people come to me with pictures. What is this crystal? It's very difficult to identify a crystal by a picture. Like I literally have to hold it because calcite feels different than fluorite. Okay, so like I have to feel it. So it's hard to do photo identification. So, okay, any questions about that? Because we're going to go to working with crystals, and then we're going to drink our crystal water, and then we will end for the day. Any question about cleansing or anything like that? Or any questions at all? Any comments? Anything? Anything? All right. Let's take a 5-minute stretch break. And if you don't have your crystal water, now is the time to go and get it. Okay. Let's take 5 minutes. All right. All right, we're in the final stretch for today. So I want to talk about working with crystals, and we are on page 13 in your workbook. So I want to talk about selecting crystals. How do you select and how do you connect with them? Now, the more you work with crystals, the stronger your intuition will be. Everybody has intuition. Everybody. It's just, is it a muscle that you have strengthened? I never realized I had intuition, but I look back on some of the things I did in my legal career, and it's like, wow, that was intuition. That was not based at all in reality, but I did it, and our intuition is always right. Always right. Okay. So you can select based on intuition. What are you drawn to? Maybe it's a color, maybe it's a shape, maybe it's how it feels, or you looked up the minerals that are in it and you're like, I need more silica to lighten me, or I need more heavy metals to ground me. You can certainly look up crystal meanings in a crystal book. But those, while a lot of those have historical meaning and have been passed down generation after generation, it doesn't mean the crystal is going to do that for you because you have a unique frequency. And when you combine it with a crystal, it's the principle of interference. Here's you, here's the crystal, you add together and you create a whole new frequency. So, while some crystals may be very grounding to other people, it may not ground you. So this is where I want you to just start trusting how you feel around a crystal and give yourself time. You initially you may feel nothing. But when you really kind of get out of like the busyness of our brain and really think about how you're feeling, you'll start understanding how crystals are helping you. Now you can also use a pendulum. So do y'all have a pendulum? Now here's the thing, a pendulum does not have to be a crystal. A pendulum just needs to be something weighted on the end of a string. I have literally used a paper clip on the end of dental floss. Okay, it can be a necklace. It does not have to be crystal. I want to teach you how to pendulum test. And I teach it differently than other people because I hear, again, and this, I have a hard time following crystal people on social media because I just literally want to scratch my eyes out when I see some of the stuff they're sharing. It's like they can't back it up in what they're teaching. Everybody's pendulum is going to swing differently. Anyone who teaches that when you're asking a yes or no question of a pendulum, that it should swing this way for yes and this way for no, absolutely not. Because your frequency is different than mine. And what you're literally doing with a pendulum, and this is how I hold a pendulum. Because it's very sturdy when you put it over your index finger and then pinch it with your thumb. And then I put my elbow on a table so that my hand is not moving. If you hold a pendulum by pinching it at the end, your hand may shake. I also see people moving their hands, and it's like, I don't know how that's pendulum testing. I don't know what they were taught. But what will really help is a very steady hand. And then you need to find out how it's going to swing for you. And this is what is happening. This is not woo-woo. When you ask a yes or no question, your brain, the part of the brain that we don't use, like the 90%, knows the answer. You are literally sending signals through the neural pathways of your brain down your arm, and you're pulsing. And that's what's getting this to move. It's very scientific, it's not woo-woo. So you can really start asking a lot of very interesting questions. But you need to know how you pulse. This is not programmed. You are the program. You can pick up anything. You can walk into a store, you can pick up a pendulum, and you can work with it. This is not the program, okay? It's you. So we need to find out what your yes is. So hold it, hold your hand steady, and ask, show me yes. If it's only moving a little bit, it's just going to take a little practice. It's like going to the gym. You just got to lift the weights a little bit more. Once you have yes, don't stop the pendulum. Just ask, show me no. And watch how it shifts. It feels like woo-woo, but it's very scientific what is happening. So the first, several times that you're working with the pendulum, I would recommend retesting, just simply asking, show me yes, and then show me no. And then once it's solidified for you, you don't ever have to ask again. And now, see, you can do this in a crystal store, but if you go to a crystal show, like if you have any local events, it's usually the miners and the geologists. Do not pull this out at those shows because they're going to see a sucker coming a mile away and they're going to charge you full price. They're going to say, oh my Lord, here comes the woo-woo people. Don't take your crystal Bible or your encyclopedia of crystals. I'm going to teach you another way to do this. But you can do this in a crystal store and you can do this at home. So you can certainly ask, hold it over a crystal, and you got to ask a yes or no question, and it needs to be pretty precise. Am I meant to work with you now? Yes, all the crystals always say yes to me. It's like I can't work with all of you at the same time. Am I meant to buy you now? Am I meant to work with you now? And if it says no, and you're still drawn to it, then you ask, am I meant to work with you later? Then all of a sudden you get a yes. Am I meant to take you home now? Yes. But am I meant to work with you later? Yes. Okay, yeah, take it home before somebody else does. Okay, this is a great way to connect. This is pure tapping into truth. We only use 5 to 10% of our brain. What's going on with the other 90%? Now, in the spiritual world, we talk about how we are connected with our higher self, the part of us that is still in the quantum field with creator, whatever you want to call it, that knows everything, absolutely knows everything. You just have to ask the question. You may not like the answer. So you can do this with anything. Should I eat that pizza for lunch? That was a hard no. That was a very fast no. I mean, you can ask any question that you want. It just needs to be a yes or no question. Now, you can also do body testing. And this is what I do when I go to shows because no one knows I'm doing it. And what a body test is you just stand, with your feet like hip width apart. And everyone tends to lean the same way, but again, you want to test this. When you ask a question and the answer is yes, your body is naturally going to move a little bit forward, like you're embracing something. You're leaning in to it. And if it's a no, you start leaning back a little bit, like you're being repelled. That's what I do at crystal shows because nobody knows I'm doing it. So you can use your body. So I would recommend that you also test that out. That is a great way, but it will help you to select crystals. So you can be in a crystal store and you can hold a crystal or just touch a crystal and ask, am I meant to work with you? Let your body or let your pendulum do the testing. All right. Does that make sense? Did everybody get the pendulum to give you a yes or no? Did anybody have trouble with that? All right, you're all good? All right. Yeah, it's a really great technique to use. And again, you can use it beyond selecting crystals or working with crystals. You can use it with any yes or no answer. So when you want to work with a crystal, actually make a connection with a crystal. You know, like I said, I've got like 500 pounds of crystals in my house. So in the morning, you know, I have a little crystal practice in the morning. It's like, okay, who do I want to work with? First of all, I ask the question and I listen to my intuition. And if I'm just kind of getting nothing, I just look at my crystals and whatever one catches my eye, great, that's the one that I'm going to work with. You can also use your hands. So our intuition comes in various forms. So people who are clairvoyant, I'm going to talk about the 4 clairs. People who are clairvoyant, they can see stuff. Like maybe they can see spirits, they can see angels, they can see auras, they can see the energy of crystals. And so they look at a crystal and they're like, oh yeah, I know I'm meant to work with it just by seeing. Some people are clairaudient, they can hear. Okay, so they hear things, they hear messages. I get a lot of very high-pitched ringing in my ears that I can't decipher. And so I ask for that high-pitched to be told to me in a way that I will understand. Okay, for me, I'm claircognizance, cognition. I just know. I don't know how I know. Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me for a scientific study. I just know. And when I know, like I know, like I know, it's 100% right. And it used to freak out all my coworkers because I would go against the grain where they're all like, yes, we need to do this. And I'm like, nope, hard no. And they wouldn't believe me. And then it ended up being right. And they would freak out over it. So that's claircognizance. You just know. You know what is right. And so I will tell the high-pitched ringing in my ears, show me in my mind's eye. Give me a thought. Tell me in my thoughts what you are trying to tell me. Bam. That's how fast intuition is. Bam. But a lot of times we second guess it and we dismiss it. Like, oh, I'm just being crazy. No, you're not. No, you're not. So that's claircognizance. And then clairsentience, you can sense, you can feel. Maybe you get goosebumps. You know, sometimes I will say things that they sound kind of crazy. A lot of times they're not coming from me, like I'm literally pulling information in and I get goosebumps. And that's, for me, that's a sign that what I'm saying is truth. But you may also feel crystals, like really, really feel them. And so you can hold your hands over crystals and you'll know if you're meant to work with them. Now, we all have what's called a receiving hand and a sending hand when it comes to energy. Some people can send and receive with both hands. Typically, your receptive hand that you're going to receive energy from, that you want to put the crystal in that hand, it's the hand that you don't write with. So if you're right-handed, you're going to put the crystal in your left hand to receive that energy. Okay, if it's in the right hand, you're sending the energy. But some people can do with both. You can use a pendulum or the body pendulum testing to find out, are you one or are you both? Okay. Another way that you can connect with a crystal, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow about putting crystals on the body. You can put a crystal on your heart and it will speak to your heart. Okay. The heart center of our body is more powerful than our brain. I don't know if you've ever heard of the organization called HeartMath out of California. HeartMath.org is phenomenal. They literally study the heart energy, the power of it, and they study human and animal interactions with like all the energies of our world. I mean, they scientifically track a lot of this stuff. It's fascinating. But they talk about the coherence of the heart and the brain and how they need to work together. But our heart is the second brain, and it's more powerful than this one up here. So you can put a crystal over your heart and ask it to talk to you. Why am I drawn to you? What do you have for me? What am I going to learn from you? What are you doing for me? You can talk to it and then just pay attention because the answers are immediate. Immediate. And that's why you have to quiet your mind. I mean, the human brain right now is so fried on information overload. Most people are not intuitive, but yet you are if you just slow down. Now you can also put crystals. This one's a little too big, but I have put her on my third eye. This is where you can also get intuition and ask. So there are many different ways that you can connect with a crystal, but it's about slowing down, doing your best to quiet your mind, and focus on the crystal. Focus on what you're feeling. Focus on the thoughts that are coming into your head. Did all of a sudden you remember something from 20 years ago and it's like, why did that pop into my mind? Oh, well, maybe that's something that's ready to be released or healed. That's how crystals work, but you have to be very in tune with what is happening. Okay, so that's selecting and working with crystals. Now I want to talk about programming crystals. So I want to talk about programming clear quartz in particular. So the larger clear quartz that I sent to you, I don't know if that's the one that you put in water. If you did put it in water, it's okay to take it out at this point. But I want you to, the one that has the flat bottom on it, I want you to grab that one because I'm going to teach you how to program that particular quartz. Or if you just have a bigger quartz, if you just have one, you can use that. Now, like I said before, when I was talking about activating crystals, we don't need to tell crystals what to do. Crystals are hardwired with frequency through their mineral composition on what they do. But clear quartz, we can program. Not smoky quartz, not rose quartz. Clear quartz, because clear quartz is just silica. It is just silica. And silica can be programmed because of the shape that it is. Silica has a shape to it. And this is what Silicon Valley works with, which is why they use silica quartz to program computers and artificial intelligence and medical devices and all of our phones and our tablets and our smartwatches. I don't do a lot of programming, but if I'm creating a grid, which I'll go into more detail tomorrow, I'm always using a clear quartz as the central part of my grid, and I program it with the intention of why I'm building the grid and what I want the grid to do. Or if I have something going wrong with me, let's say I need to work on grief, or I need to change a mindset, or I have digestive issues, I can take a quartz and I can program it with an intention, and intentions are always said in the positive. Okay, so you don't ever say, I want this crystal to help resolve my digestive issues. All the energy hears is digestive issues, digestive issues. Okay, so you have to say it in the positive. This crystal, he has healed my body, has healed my digestive system, has healed grief. This crystal has filled me with joy. This crystal has filled me with an abundant, positive mindset. You see the difference? You have to talk about what you want, not what you want to get rid of. And that's how you build an intention. And with quartz points, due to its properties, we can do 3 things with quartz. Quartz amplifies whatever it comes into contact with, which is why tomorrow I'll talk about clear quartz is not to be placed near your computers or technology or a Wi-Fi router or television, because it's going to make it bigger. It amplifies. That's why the tech industry uses it. Number 2, it is programmable, which is why the tech industry uses it. And it stores information, again, which is why the tech industry uses it. So there are crystals that are surfacing that some people can download the programs that are stored in them. So there are Lemurian crystals, there are Atlantean crystals that are believed to have the information of those lost worlds. And scientifically, you can store information in a crystal and you can program a crystal. So we are going to utilize a technique called piezoelectricity. And it's not going to be in the scientific way that the tech industry is using it, where they're literally tapping the quartz to create the piezoelectricity charge. Okay, that's what's happening in all our watches and all our computers. We are going to squeeze it. So I want you to take the hand that you write with, your dominant hand, because that's our sending hand, right? Put your crystal in that hand because you're going to send your intention into the crystal. Okay? I want you to come up with an intention. And, intentions that start with I am are already focused on the end result. I am joyful. I am happy. I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am healthy. I am vibrant. Okay, focus on the end result. And what we're going to do is you're going to squeeze the crystal repeatedly. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. We are energetically creating the piezoelectricity effect. And I want you to repeat your affirmation over and over and over and over and over. Every time you squeeze, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. We are embedding intention into the crystal because your intention running through your thought mind is frequency. That frequency is running through your body, down your arm, and into the crystal. And every time you pump, it's a frequency. And then the crystal is a frequency that is able to be receptive. That's why we only do this with clear quartz. We're not doing it with fluorite. We're not doing it with amethyst. Clear quartz is the clearest to receive, okay? So let's go ahead. Why don't you put it in your hand, your dominant hand, and we're going to spend about 60 seconds embedding our program, our intention, okay? And then I like to end the intention with, may this be correct and for the good of all. because sometimes we have a goal or an intention and it's not actually in our best interest. You can also end it with, like, this is my intention or something better. Because sometimes we think very limited or something better. Okay. And the way that I was taught by my science teacher, she said, do not let others touch it and reprogram it monthly. And of course, I was like, explain. Well, if you let somebody else touch it, they have their own energy. You don't need, we're going back to physics principles. You got your programmed crystal up here. You got their energy. You don't need them coming in and tampering with that. Okay? So just don't let them touch it. I mean, it can be out in the environment, but I like to put these in grids, or you can sleep with it on your nightstand or under your pillow and let it work on you. You can even carry it in your pocket throughout the day. And when it comes to reprogramming monthly, even she said, I have no reason why I'm saying monthly. So we literally tested this. We tested this and we pulled out our pendulum. And at day 20, we tested, it was still programmed. At day 25, it was still programmed. Around 30 to 35 days, it was losing its program. And so you just reprogram it. Now, if you program a crystal, it does what it needs to do, or you just don't want that program anymore, just hold it and say end program. That's it, end program. Remember, we're dealing with frequencies here. All right. So that's how we program clear quartz only. It has no impurities. It is just silica. It is highly programmable. Highly, highly, highly. All right. Any questions about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You know I'm going to ask this question. So can I put my bottle of abundance in my hand with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is there any that you shouldn't use?
Any oils? Can't think of any.
Okay.
Because the oils are like the crystals. They only do good.
Mhm.
Yep. They're pure frequency.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, do you want to do this and then put it next to your Wi-Fi router? Nope. Nope, that's not a good thing. You do not want to amplify that because we don't necessarily know what that's doing. But yeah, with the oils, you can take because quartz amplifies, you can take any of the oils and you can amplify what that's doing. So one of my favorite things to do, because you see those charts going around that have the frequency testing from 1999, which was a snapshot in time and is so highly outdated. If anything, the frequencies are higher, but they still give you a hierarchy, but the numbers are way off at this point. But what I like to do is take what I know to be a high frequency oil or a blend, and I ramp it up with clear quartz. And then I start taking the pendulum and I literally will ask, like I'll smear essential oils. So let's take rose oil. Everybody think rose oil is what, 320 megahertz?
Mhm.
No, it's more like up into the thousands. And so I take my pendulum and I'll test the essential oil and I'll literally ask, is this, I don't even have an oil bottle here. Is this oil at least 100 megahertz? Yes. Is it at least 200 megahertz? So I kind of get into the range of where it is. I'll ask the same of this crystal. Are you at least 500 megahertz? Are you at least 5,000 megahertz? When I then blend them together and ask the question and start going up, it's the principle of interference. The oil and the crystal add together and create a whole third energy wave. It's why I wrote the oily crystal book,
Mhm.
because
That's
they add
straightforward.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't, I, it's only good. It's only goodness.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, do you put the oil, do you just hold the oil bottle or do you actually put the oil onto the crystal?
You can do either, as long as the crystal is most hardness 6 and higher.
Okay, then if you want to use a different oil on it, do you cleanse the crystal with anything?
Yeah. Yeah, because you can clean it. You can just take soap and clean it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. For the sake of time, because I want us to get the taste testing in before I have to run off to this memorial service, we're going to hop ahead and do the crystal water segment, and then we'll come back to the rest of this tomorrow. Okay. So let's go ahead, flip like 2 pages over to crystal water, page 16. And what I want to do is I want to show Dobby's here sassing me. He wants his lunch. Here, hold on. We're going to come back to all of that. All right, crystal water. There is a reason for creating crystal water. First of all, water is very fluid, literally, physically fluid, but energetically, it can be structured. There's this whole movement called structured water that you can pay a lot of money and have water structured for a very healthy benefit for the body. Or you can just put crystals in the water and you can do it so affordably and virtually for no money. Water has been proven scientifically to react to our thoughts and to frequencies around it. Okay, so Dr. Emoto, he passed away a couple of years ago, but a scientist in Japan, and his students are still continuing with his work. But he's written quite a few books on changing the structure of water. And first of all, this is an example of how you can create water. This was an old version of what I did, where I would filter, I'd purify my water and then I'd put it in this container, and you can see I've got a clear quartz in the bottom of it. Again, Mohs hardness 6 and higher, non-toxic. That's important. But what Dr. Emoto did with him and his students, they would expose water to certain words and to certain thoughts. And then they would look at the water under a microscope. The words that were very beautiful and very peaceful created these snowflakes. That's what they look like. They look like snowflakes. Now, if you go on and take the advanced class, I talk about this is a 6-sided hexagon. Hexagons create strength, and clear quartz is a hexagon. So you'll start seeing replicating shapes in crystals and how it has specific meanings. But these form as a hexagon, which is a very healthy shape that we need in our body. And so love and gratitude, the word eternal, the word peace created these beautiful 6-sided hexagon snowflakes. Whereas when they said the words, "You disgust me," to the water, look how it morphed. Now, I don't know if you see this, but right in the center, I see a person like pulling back their arm, like they're shooting an arrow, like a bow and arrow. Do you see that? You see like the arm pulled back, and there's the body. And then here it looks like I don't know why I see that, but that's what you disgust me. Pew, shoot you with an arrow. Isn't that interesting how that shows up in the water? Evil, when they just spoke evil to the water, doesn't that look like the evil eye? Whereas thank you, beautiful 6-sided hexagon snowflake, playing classical music, 6-sided hexagon snowflake, but heavy metal. I'm sorry if you like heavy metal, it's not doing anything good for you. We are 70% water. We are vibrating inside all the time based on the frequencies that we are exposed to, which is why, getting back to the physics principles, when we encounter negative people, we feel negative afterward. When we encounter positive people, we feel uplifted. When we listen to music that we love, we feel uplifted. Okay? So we are water, we fluctuate. Crystals don't. Now, there is, and I see these people in Tucson all the time, called VitaJewel, where they have crystals inside these glass wands, and then they literally just stick that in water. So the crystals are in glass, and then the glass goes in the water. And they have done studies and proved that you can see the crystals that are on the top and then what the water looks like on the bottom. Because when you put crystals in clear glass, not brown glass, not cobalt blue glass, not ceramic, not plastic, but clear glass. Clear glass is made of minerals. Remember, the mineral kingdom communicates with each other. So when you take clear glass and you put water in it that is mineralized, so purified tap water, purified well water, or spring water, that all has minerals. So now you got mineralized water in a mineralized clear glass, and then you stick a crystal in it that's minerals, they're all communicating. And then one of the crystals I had you put, not directly in water, the black tourmaline went inside glass, and then the glass sat in the water. The crystal energy can still go into the water because it's infusing through the minerals of the clear glass. That's why we use clear glass. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing that. So because we know crystals give off vibrational frequency, and water is made of energy, and it's very fluid, and it can be structured. And we are made of water. When we drink crystal water, we take on the frequency of the crystal. It's the easiest thing to do. Me and my cats, we only drink clear quartz water. That's it. That's it. I cook with it. I bake with it. That's all I have. It's the only thing here. And it can work on you not only at a physical level, but it can work on you at a frequency level, at a DNA level when you're drinking this water. Okay. So again, you have to look at the Mohs hardness, 6 and higher, and then you have to make sure it's non-toxic. If it is toxic, you do what I call the indirect method. You put the crystal in a glass bowl, and then you put the bowl in water, and it works. So we're going to do some taste testing. We are going to do some taste testing. Are you ready? You got your crystals? Okay. So the crystal that is light blue, your blue lace agate, here's how I want you to taste it. Okay, if you've ever done wine tasting, this is what people do. This is not what I do. I just drink it. I'm like, it's good. It tastes like wine. But other people, when they let it sit in their mouth, like let it sit on your palate, this is where the wine people are like, oh, it's smoky. I taste cranberry or peaches or, whatever. I don't get that. I'm like, it's wine. But with crystals, let it sit there and pay attention to, like, what are you tasting? Do you taste minerals? Does it taste clean? Does it taste dirty? What's the temperature? And I'm not talking the physical temperature. Like when you drink it, do you kind of get shivers? Is it cold? Or does it feel internally warm? Do you get goosebumps? Do you feel energy moving? Like that's what I want you to focus on. So put it in your mouth, let it sit there for 10 or 15 seconds, and then unmute yourself and tell me what you get. If you get nothing, that's okay. You're still getting the energies. So we're going to do blue lace agate first. Don't overthink it. Off the top of your head, what did you get?
Very smooth,
Smooth?
very smooth.
Soft, cooler, calm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got cold and metallic,
Cold and metallic. Yeah.
but I made a mistake. I used our filtered water, and I forgot to use my it says reverse osmosis, so it doesn't have any minerals in it.
It'll still work, but it works better with mineralized water.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll still work. You can still change the structure of that water. Yeah.
I'll try it with I actually put Baja salt into my water to get the minerals back into it. So I'm going to try the same experiment with that for tomorrow. See if I
Yeah.
still get cold metallic.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So you're going to learn tomorrow the blue lace agate is anti-inflammatory. It cools the body, it cools emotions. It's calming, soothing. That's what it tastes like. That's what it tastes like. I mean, it's got some minerals in it that you can taste a little bit of the minerals, but it tends to come off smooth and cold. Blue is cold, right?
Mhm.
Yellow is warm, blue is cold. Okay. Let's take your yellow crystal, the citrine. Let's drink that one and start comparing because all four of these that we're doing are very different. So start doing a comparison. All right. What'd you get from that one?
It almost has a sweetness to it.
Mm.
I got bright, spicier, and excited.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I tasted like I licked a rusty pipe.
Because that crystal has iron in it.
It was
Yeah.
definitely not as good as the other one, the blue one. It's more salty.
Hmm? Yeah. So
I got
sit.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I got sparkly and goosebumps on that one.
So citrine, you're going to learn tomorrow, is the crystal of happiness. It's high energy. It's sun energy, so you can feel vibrant, like prickly and tingly, but it's iron. So it can taste a little salty, like you tasted a rusted pipe.
Mhm.
Isn't this fascinating? All right, let's take the black tourmaline, the crystal bowl floating in water. Okay. So that black tourmaline did not touch the water at all because black tourmaline has aluminum in it. We do not want to drink the physical attributes of aluminum, but we can take the energetic. So let's sample this one.
That one's very different. Um, Heavier. The word grounding came to mind, and I don't know if my brain just automatically does that with color, but it just kind of felt like it had had body to it.
Yeah. Feels a little heavier.
Mhm.
Like, did you kind of feel your energy just kind of go, whew, like, just kind of settle?
Mhm.
Kind of, but I'm a Capricorn, so it kind of, that's natural.
Yeah.
I'm a Leo and it did. So,
Yeah, I'm a Leo too.
but it coated my tongue. It had a very smooth coating on my tongue.
Yeah. Did anybody taste anything like physically like I taste
Dirt,
dirt?
dirt.
Urkel.
Yeah. And isn't that amazing? The crystal literally did not touch the water, but you're picking that up. That's how frequency works.
Frida, what did you experience?
Charcoal. It tasted like charcoal to me. It was like bad taste.
Charcoal.
Oh, charcoal. Charcoal. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. That's how powerful frequency is. Which then, like when I had this aha moment many years ago, then I was freaked out about everything that I was being influenced by. And it's like, I don't want to leave my house. I literally don't want to leave my house. I'm sorry, everybody's crazy. I want to stay in my little crystal palace with my cats and my oils and my Hallmark television movies and my Harry Potter books, and I don't want to leave. This is why crystals can protect us because we are highly influenced. But isn't that the craziest thing that you can taste? So there's ways. There's ways that you can work with all crystals. All right, let's go to the last one, your clear quartz. Let's taste that one.
Mm.
What's the difference?
Tasted like a mountain stream water.
And very smooth, and it just kind of washed away everything,
Yeah.
Mhm.
very, almost bubbly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cleared away the other energies.
Mhm.
What else?
I got a high pitched ring in my ear as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Clear quartz is a very high frequency. It's just silica. We need silica in our body. So this is a way to get silica. But you're going to learn tomorrow that clear quartz's only job is to move chi energy in the body. That's it. It's basically like the Drano to the hair clogs that we have in our energy field. It's like, pew, clear it, pew, clear it. That's all clear quartz does. Clear, clear, clear. That's why it's called clear. Clear the field, clear the field. And that's why it cleared away the taste of the other crystals. Is very, very potent, very high energy. You're going to learn all about it tomorrow. So now you know why I always drink clear quartz water, and it does taste like a mountain stream. It actually tastes like if you've ever been or ever have a chance to go to Alaska, you can literally pull off on the side of the road, and there are people with buckets gathering glacier water.
Mhm.
It's the most clearest, mineralized, purest water. I mean, same thing. You can do the same thing in Switzerland. And that's what clear quartz water tastes like, is this pure mineralized glacier water, like super, super healthy and mm, so beneficial.
Ellie, if I was going to do a raindrop with someone, would I give them hematite water first, do the raindrop, and then finish it with clear quartz?
You could. Absolutely, yeah.
So you'd ground what they had first, and then clear.
Yeah.
I have a question along those same lines. We're going to have a family meeting tomorrow night that may get a little bit loud. And so if I serve water that's been put in a larger glass container with the black tourmaline, and then have the water charged with the quartz crystal, would that be a grounding and an elevating mood at the same time when family members drink, when we all drink it?
Yes, but I would actually recommend instead of black tourmaline because some, black tourmaline water sometimes doesn't taste good. Like you need to want to drink that water. Drink it.
Okay. Mhm.
Tomorrow you're going to learn about amethyst. It has iron and silica. It grounds because of the iron and the silica raises you. You get
Okay.
two for the price of one.
Oh, all in one pitcher.
Mhm. Make
Okay.
make amethyst water. Even throw some rose quartz in there because that's
Okay.
all about compassion and empathy.
Mhm.
Yeah, you'll get some better ideas tomorrow on what,
Excellent.
yeah, but you could start brewing it now.
I will.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's depending on what you want the water to do for you, that's the crystal that you pick. Okay. When the water is in morning sun is the heightened energy. It's like making sun tea. Have you ever made sun tea?
Hmm.
That was a big thing back in the 80s. Okay. That's what you're doing. You're brewing the crystal water with the heightened energy of the sun. Now, can you brew it in the afternoon? Of course. Does it have to go outside? Not right now. Not in Michigan. No way, no how. It can sit on a sunny window ledge, but I have a Berkey filter. It's stainless steel. There is not one stitch of sun getting in there. I still have clear quartz covering the bottom of my Berkey, so the water filters and ends up laying on the clear quartz.
Hmm.
It's still getting infused. The sun infuses it faster. It's like supercharged. If you need to make crystal water in 3 hours, bam, put it in morning sun and you're good to go. But mine is constantly turning over, so it doesn't even need the sun. So
Hmm.
this is an easy thing to do. And in your workbook, I've given you a recipe, and there's even a link to a video that if you want to go one step further and create what's called crystal elixir. This is where you take your crystal water, you stabilize it. I like to use white organic vinegar. Some people use alcohol, but I don't like to stabilize with alcohol, especially if you work with animals. And then from there, you can start making tinctures and spray bottles. You can literally, on 1 cup of crystal water, you could probably make 100 tinctures and 100 spray bottles. And very early on, in my business, I did this. I had an Etsy store, and oh my gosh, people loved this. And I'd add the essential oils. It was basically the start of my oily crystal work. So there's ways that you can do it. But if you're just making regular water, like you're either going to want to turn it over pretty frequently, like in my little Berkey purifier, I'm constantly pulling water out. Um, or it's going to last for like 7 days, but then after 7 days, you're going to want to refresh it. So it's just such an easy way to intake crystal energy. And now you've all tasted it. I'm so glad you all were able to taste it. That's amazing.
Allie, there's
Yeah.
another cool thing that I think you can probably do. I'm starting just to learn a little bit about it now, but I do a lot of larger red light therapy now. And if you have plant lights at home, you could use that on your crystal water because that will give you the UVA and the UVB that you don't get in the windows anymore because of the
Yeah.
UV proof glass
Yeah.
that we don't have, but that will kind of supercharge it as well.
Yeah.
So that's another idea, especially if
Awesome.
you live up north.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, so there's a lot of different uses for crystal water. If you can drink it, your pets can drink it. You can water your house plants with it. You can bathe in it. There's just a lot of different things that you can do. So I'm a big fan of crystal water. I'm ingesting it 100% of the time, all day long.
Is there anything you wouldn't put in, like especially for plants and stuff like that? I always use the water that I've used for cooking for vegetables. so that they're getting more that way. But is there anything that you wouldn't put in with a crystal? Like vinegars, I would think would tend to pull certain minerals off some of them, but
Um, yeah, and the vinegar is just for stabilizing the water for making tinctures and sprays. I wouldn't pour that into plants. I wouldn't even drink it.
yeah.
I wouldn't drink it. But just straight crystal water, I can't, honestly, I can't
Okay.
think of anything. But I really tend to stick with a lot of the basics. There's a reason that we're going to talk about 10 specific crystals tomorrow because this is basically your starter kit. This is like the foundation of everything that you can use in so many different ways. So all of these you can turn in to very beneficial crystal water. But I mean, I go with the clear quartz, and then my water bottle that I have is clear quartz amethyst and blue lace agate. So it's like I'm hitting a lot of calming energies because that's what I have in my car with me so that I don't run people over for being stupid. Yeah, that's why I have that. So yeah, you just kind of have to figure out if you need more energy. We'll talk about citrine and carnelian tomorrow. You can make citrine and carnelian water, and that'll give you huge energy. That's like working with citrus oils. Yeah. And you can use more than one crystal. You just need to make sure that they are going for the same common end result. So, like tomorrow, you're going to learn that citrine and black tourmaline are polar opposites. I would not be making citrine black tourmaline water because they're going to come together and say, we kind of cancel each other out. So we don't know what to do. So it tends to be crystal chaos. So you need to make sure that the crystals get along well together with the same energy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like down the road, summer things, making iced tea for people, and you can do it with crystal water and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
mixing Ningxia Red with crystal water and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I do it all the time. I have Ningxia Red crystal parties. I have oil infused water crystal parties. I put crystals in wine. I put crystals in cocktails, crystal cocktail party, whatever you want, whatever drink. And I physically let people put the crystal in
Hmm.
water. So yeah, or whatever the drink is. They get to pick their crystal based on what they want and take it home with them and recreate it.
When's your next party?
I don't know. I gotta wait for all the snow and frigid weather to go away.
I do have a question. I'm in the room and I have some crystals, and I know you've got lots and lots of crystals in your house. Why? Because we are 70% water. When all the frequencies of all those crystals, when we're in the presence of all those, do they raise? How do I say it? The lower frequency crystals and the higher do they all kind of even out in our bodies? I mean, don't they kind of counteract each other at some point and complement each other at other points? I mean, since we're the receptacle, how does that work when you're in a room in like your house with so many different frequencies?
I strategically place my crystals.
Ah,
Yeah. So when you really start learning about the crystals, you're going to go through your house, you're going to move everything around.
okay.
Because there are crystals for the bedroom, that are going to be very different than crystals for an office or crystals for a family room. So
Okay.
you'll start being very intentional about where the crystals go. And yeah,
Mhm.
there could be some crossover, there could be some canceling each other out, but and I'll talk about this more tomorrow, but we are in an energy where we have to both ground and raise our frequency at the same time,
Yes.
simultaneously. Gone are the days of just grounding and just raising yourself. We have to do both.
Mhm.
So, that's why crystal placement is important. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to end us here for the day, and we will come back promptly at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We may need to go just a little over tomorrow, not much, just a smidge, but we'll see how we go tomorrow. So I'm just going to end today here. It's a good natural ending point, and we'll hop back in tomorrow.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Allie.
Ally.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.